JR2.
Dr. Shikhar?
Not
Shikhar,
joined.
I don't think has joined.
Dr. Desari?
Not also joined.
Dr. Isha? Dr. Pooja?
Dr. Isha was here. Isha?
Yeah.
Yeah, please introduce yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Isha, GR2 from Patil Medical College, Mumbai.
Dr. Pooja?
Pooja is not joining.
Not joined. Yes.
Dr. Vishnu?
Vishnu?
I am Dr. Vishnu, Rajpuri Medical College, Pondicherry.
Dr. Madhusri has not joined, I think. Dr. Saujanya?
Good evening, ma'am. This is Dr. Saujanya from Ramaya Medical College.
Dr. Rifat?
Good evening, ma'am. I am Dr. Ifat from ESI PGIMSR Medical College, Joka, Kolkata.
And Dr. Tejas?
Good evening, ma'am. Myself, Dr. Tejas, Pramukh Swami Medical College, Anand.
Yes. Our webinar host is Gorgeous Madam and Dr. Sumit Gujral, sir. Today's moderators are myself, Vanessa, and Dr. Janaki. There are a few reminders, and most important one is please do not send any annotation requests to the presenters. Some more disclaimers. And over to you, Gorgeous Madam, for today's cutaneous tumors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vanessa. Let me start by wishing everybody a very happy new year. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, in today's talk is going to, it's not a talk actually, it's a slide seminar, and we are going to, I hope everybody, it was posted on Telegram, so I hope everybody in the audience, including the 6 students who are going to be the face of the audience, and by interacting with these students, I hope that the audience will also clarify some of their doubts, or if there are any comments that they want to make, please do so in the chat box. I think Vanessa will keep an account of what's happening in the chat box, and at any time, I'm happy to be interrupted at any time. Okay, so I think we can start. I'm sure all of you know that all of the slides that or cases are of the skin, and that's why I've called it cutaneous conundrums. And I wanted to ask any one of the 6, because I can only interact with them, or anybody else would like to say something in the chat box. What actually is a conundrum? Srishti, you'd like to answer that question? What is a conundrum?
Ma'am, it's a confusing or difficult problem or question. That means
Yeah, that's right. So we are going to look at skin tumors, and I think that there may be some confusion in the minds of some of the participants or those who are attending this this slide seminar, and that's why I call this thing a cutaneous conundrum. Very good. And before we actually get to the cases, for those who haven't attended any one of my classes or slide seminars before, I just like to show you some introductory slides. Okay, and this is something that over the years I have found useful. Many of the students who have attended have found them useful, and that's why I want to share this with you. And this is about how to improve one's diagnostic skills. Okay, we all know that we should start at low power examination, and it has been my observation that students don't think it is important to look at anything under low power. Because when I'm sitting with students, and I've done this over the years, I've been teaching for over 40 years, I hear the clicks on the microscope eyepieces, no? And it goes click, 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 because everybody goes straight to high power. And I believe that this is a big mistake, because there's so many things that you can observe at intermediate powers, and especially at low power. And therefore, when you're doing a low power examination, it is not, the low power lens is not there just for fun, or just because you need more lenses than a high power lens. It's because there are things that you can observe at low power which you will not be able to see at high power. I know that a lot of students who think that that's ridiculous, but there is a reason why we do a low power. There are many reasons why we do a low power examination. And if you ask yourself these 5 questions, okay, and this you have to ask yourself. I'm sorry, there is a mistake. There are questions one should ask oneself on a low power examination. The first question that you should ask: is there any normal tissue or structure present? And it's very important, because sometimes you don't know what the tissue is that has been given to you, or somebody tells you that it is something. Say they tell you that it is the breast, and what you're seeing is something else, and therefore you must not immediately start to believe that what there is over there is what you have been told is there. Because if there happens to be a mix-up, or this particular biopsy may not even belong to this particular patient, it may even have been mislabeled, you will find that out immediately. You will also know whether this tissue that you're seeing, you will know what is the next steps. You will, when you want to know what is the relationship of the normal to the abnormal, if you have not even identified the normal, you will not know. Okay, so the first question you ask yourself is there any normal tissue or structure present? It helps you to orient your diagnosis to your observations to the tissue at hand. The next question is there an abnormality seen? Now, we always assume that somebody has biopsied something because there is an abnormality present, but don't assume that. Somebody, say, doing a needle core biopsy or some other biopsy may have missed the lesion. So don't assume that what you're seeing is abnormal. So you have to ask yourself if there is normal tissue, and if there is an abnormality seen. Okay, you don't have to diagnose it at low power, but you ask yourself, and if the answer to that is yes, then you ask yourself, what is the relationship of the normal to the abnormal? All right, say you have a piece of skin, and now we are looking at skin today, and this is one of the best examples of how you can look at relationships. The skin is composed of an epidermis and a dermis. All right, so if there is an abnormality, you have to ask, what's the relationship of, is this epidermal in origin? Is this dermal in origin? Is it infiltrative? Is it circumscribed? Okay, so what is this abnormality doing to the tissues that you have under your microscope? So that is the meaning of the relationship. Then you go and look, if it happens to be a tumor or an inflammation or anything else, is there a pattern to this abnormality? That's something that you can really look at low power. The higher you go, when you're looking at it, you lose what is called perspective. So you're able to see, and this is nowadays all of you Google Maps. Okay, and you can see how you can cone down from the top. You can see the whole outline of a particular area. And then as you get to higher rank, you just expand that. You will see that you are able to see individual houses or roads or whatever. And what you see at high power does not really give you the perspective that you get at low power. And this is something, what we do every day in histopathology is something like looking at Google Maps. And finally, it is, where should I direct my high power examination? I've looked at a lot of areas under low power, and then I make up my mind, what should I do first with respect to a high power examination? Okay, so these are the 5 questions one should ask oneself on a low power examination. Now, what do you do at high power? Now, at high power, we're not looking at pattern, we're not looking at whether there is something normal or abnormal. Really, what we're looking at now are cells. So what are the cellular characteristics? What is the shape? Is this whole thing monomorphic? Do you see some variation? Are there more than one type of cell, which you may not be able to actually appreciate at low power? And then we use these terms like pleomorphic, anisocytosis, etc. We have to look at the cytoplasm and look at the cell membrane. What is the cytoplasm like? Is it the color, the density? Does it contain anything? And many of these, over the years, you'll be able to look at all these. Is there mucin? Are there vacuoles? Are there inclusions, etc., etc.? And also look at the nucleus. Okay, what is its shape, its size, and so on. That is over there. All of this you have to practice, because I know that very often when somebody is describing a cell, they will say it is a round cell, and it is not a round cell. It is the nucleus that is being described. So please, there is such a thing as the cytoplasm. There is such a thing as a nucleus. If you don't see much cytoplasm, then say so, that the cytoplasm is scanty, and what you see is the nucleus, and describe the nucleus. Please don't go around saying that this is a round cell. And finally, whatever you have observed and interpreted, now you have to come to a final diagnosis, right? And when you are going in your mind, you're thinking in your mind as to how you're going to reach this. This is a small, very simple schema. It's a simple schema that says, what is it that I am looking at? Is it congenital or acquired? If it is acquired, is it physiological or pathological? And you can ask, what do you mean by physiological? Oh, of course, it could be an endometrium, which is in an proliferative phase. It could be in the secretory phase, and all of that is perfectly physiological. It might be decidua. It may be other kinds of physiological changes that occur in other parts. So don't jump to the conclusion that everything that you're seeing is necessarily pathological. Okay, then if it is pathological, is it neoplastic or non-neoplastic? If it happens to be neoplastic, is it benign or malignant? And the next question, if it is malignant, is whether it's primary or secondary. Never assume that everything that you see that is malignant is occurring at the site where the biopsy has come from, or the tissue has come from. If you don't ask yourself this question after you have decided that it is malignant, whether it is primary or secondary, you are going to fall into a trap. If, of course, you have found that it is a primary, or even if it is secondary, then you need to make your final diagnosis. If all else fails, all right, if all else fails and you're still not able to make a diagnosis, then these days you have a tool which we never had when we were growing up as postgraduates in pathology, is Google. So you can Google it, but please don't use Google right in the beginning, because if you haven't made good observations and good interpretations, Google will give you all kinds of odd answers. So now that we have just quickly gone through how you should approach any slide at any time, and I like to say this at the beginning of all my slide seminars, so that you have a kind of a template into which you can use for all kinds of histological observations and diagnosis. All right, so now we come to case 1, and who would like to take case 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's start. Who's doing that? Shishi? Who's that? Ifat. All right, Ifat, you volunteered for case 1. Come on, Ifat, start.
This is a scanner view, shows an exopenic.
Just read the history first.
Okay, ma'am. 80-year-old female with a mass on the nose.
All right, Ifat, very good. So now you know that this is a mass on the nose, right? Yeah, excellent. So what are the, and it's in the skin of the nose, obviously. This is not something that is inside the nose. So Ifat, can you tell me? Somebody has just given you the history, and you looked at this history. What are the thoughts that come to your mind? What are these lesions that you see on the skin of the nose? Never mind what you have here. Just tell me what are these lesions that you see on the skin of the nose?
Basal cell carcinoma.
Basal cell carcinoma, very good. Yes.
Rhinosporidiosis, sometimes also present as mass.
Rhinosporidiosis, yes, very good, Ifat. Anything else?
Sebaceous carcinoma.
Sebaceous carcinoma. Okay. So when somebody says that you have an 80-year-old lady with a mass on the nose, what is going through your head? Nothing.
It's benign lesion or malignant.
Rhino.
Yes, Tejas, what were you going to say?
It's a benign lesion or a malignant lesion first.
Benign lesion or malignant lesion. Okay. Now, I gave you a schema, right? But nobody is actually even thinking of the schema. What is the schema that you will fit? If somebody wakes you up in the middle of the night and says, "Come on now, tell me, what are these things that you see on the skin of the nose?" How will you organize your thoughts? Yes, Tejas? Huh? What, Tejas? I gave you a schema, not even 2
Is
slides.
it congenital or acquired? If acquired,
So
it's
at
not
the age of
good.
80, it is highly unlikely to be congenital, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, but if this were some, say a child, maybe a 2-month-old child, can you think of anything that might be on a mass on the nose, which might be congenital? Anybody else? Shrishti?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah?
Ma'am, nevus.
Nevus. Okay, 2-month-old with a nevus. Okay, possible. Anything else? See, and the chat box, people are saying hemangioma. Yes, okay, but tell me something very common that you might see, and say it's at the base of the nose. What would it be?
Angiofibroma.
Angiofibromas occur on the skin of the nose. Come on now, that's not possible. You think it could even be a little dermoid cyst, So when you are talking about congenital and acquired, what are the congenital things that you might see in a young person? Okay, in a baby, and the dermoid cyst is one of the most common things that you see. So in the base of the nose, that's where you have your where the lines of the sutures are are coming together. Okay, all right. So congenital, acquired. Almost everything else will be acquired on the skin of the nose. Yes, and then you go, is it physiological or pathological? Then physiological things that occur on the skin of the nose. And if you are thinking in that manner, nothing is difficult. But you people don't want a system. You will just think, hey, this, that, and the other. Think of it and use this system, whether it is a clinical differential diagnosis or it is a histological differential diagnosis. All right. So what do you think could be pathological on the skin of the nose? It is neoplastic or non-neoplastic? Simple. Yeah. So somebody mentioned a non-neoplastic lesion. What is that? Huh? Somebody did mention a little while ago. Yes. No?
No.
If I mentioned it, yes.
Rhinosporoidiosis.
Rhinosporoidiosis, yes. There can be epidermal cysts. No, these are all non-neoplastic lesions. Yes or no? An epidermal cyst is not a neoplastic lesion. So these are some common things that you see. And then finally, you come to neoplastic. And neoplastic can be several of the things that you have mentioned, but there could be nevi, that is intraepidermal nevus, or then you have to think of all the possible criteria things. Okay, but nevi, etc., don't produce masses. And this is an 80-year-old woman. So you'll have to think now, an 80-year-old woman, this is the face. And on the face, you can, at this time, at this age, you have had so many insults to the face. Yeah, and what insults are we talking about, Ifat? Ifat?
Solar radiation.
Solar, yes. Okay, so we have to think about all of the possible solar effects on the skin of the face. And the nose is a very prominent part of your face, which does bear the brunt of a lot of solar things. So tell me, what are the solar lesions you are expecting, solar induced lesions that you're expecting that will actually produce a little mass? Yes, Ifat? Somebody is writing in the chat box, but you should be telling me, Ifat.
Basal cell carcinoma.
Basal cell carcinoma, okay. What else? Squamous cell carcinoma.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, actinic keratosis. People are saying these things in the chat box. Okay, so those are the things that you would expect. You're not going to expect some sarcomas and stuff like that on the skin of the nose. It doesn't happen. Okay, so we are expecting something on this which will be related to solar radiation or some other things which are not actinically induced. All right, so now come on, describe this, Ifat.
Ma'am, this is a scanner view, which shows an exophytic, poorly circumscribed lesion composed of epithelial aggregates of various shapes and sizes in upper dermis.
Ifat, back again, we are to doing what we have always done. What
Yes,
did I
ma'am.
tell you in the first slide? That
Is there any normal or
is there any? Have you asked yourself that question? No, you haven't.
Yes.
So, and what is the purpose of looking at? Is there any normal or abnormal, sort of skin over here? What is the purpose?
ma'am, to know the relationship
the
with
relationship,
them and in which area we have to focus?
Oh my, that's why you need to know the normal. Huh?
No.
Yes, Ifat. All right. Somebody else, Isha.
Yes, ma'am.
Why should we know whether there is something normal or abnormal over here in the skin? Whether this skin, and we are seeing skin. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Ma'am, if we this sample or biopsy, so if it is from our desirable, it shows
No,
the
now forget
representative.
all this. This is from the nose. Don't give me all those. Here I have got skin. So you're now tell me, Isha, is this normal or abnormal?
Ma'am, it is abnormal.
It's abnormal, really. Or you have got no normal skin over here at all? Isha?
Ma'am, it is normal. Yeah,
What
ma'am,
is the
there is a
question that you were supposed to ask yourself, Isha? What is the first question you're supposed to ask?
ma'am, there is a normal.
Is there any normal
normal
structure or tissue present? So answer the question, Isha.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, there is. Okay. How do you know that there is?
Ma'am, there is when we say from upward to downward, so the uppermost layer is we can see that there is a dark the line and eosinophilic. Sorry,
What's the
ma'am, there is
line, please? I mean,
um,
are we pathologists or are we, some Dehati people who are trying to learn histology? What is the meaning of
Ma'am,
dark
there
line?
is
Saujanya,
ma'am, there is epidermis and dermis.
dermis.
There is an epidermis and there is a dermis. Okay,
Dermis.
correct. So is this an epidermis and dermis? Is it from where we have been told it has come? We have been told that this is from the nose. Yes. So do you think that this epidermis and dermis is from the nose? Yes, Ifat, you've taken this note to describe. Come on, tell me. Is this from the nose or is it from somewhere else?
Ma'am, this is from nose.
Yeah, why?
Ma'am, it is lined by stratified squamous epithelium.
Stratified squamous epithelium. Wow. What is that stratified squamous epithelium? What is it?
I mean, it's the lining epithelium.
What?
And it's the lining epithelium, and there is
It's the lining epithelium. Wow. What lining epithelium is this now?
Respiratory epithelium, ma'am.
Respiratory epithelium. So Vishnu thinks that this is respiratory epithelium. Why do you think that, Vishnu?
Ma'am,
Why is it respiratory epithelium, Vishnu? Let Vishnu answer. I'm interested. Why does Vishnu think that this is respiratory epithelium? And then one of you can answer, Vishnu, and say whether you think it is or it is not. Come on, Vishnu. Why is this respiratory epithelium? Where's Vishnu? Come on, Vishnu.
ma'am,
Vishnu, ask for
Yes, ma'am.
annotation. Yes, Vishnu, ask for annotation. You know how to do it, right?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ask for annotation. Excellent. 1 second. I've approved. Good. Now, Vishnu, take the second pen. Now, come on, show me this respiratory epithelium. Don't be intimidated by anybody, Vishnu. Not by me, not by your colleagues. You think that there is respiratory epithelium? Show it.
Yes.
Yeah. So just take so you think that is respiratory epithelium over there. Okay. So and you think that it is normal. Is that what you think, Vishnu? Because you were looking for normal, right?
It is not normal, ma'am.
It is not normal, but you think it is respiratory. All right, Ifat.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
you tell Vishnu where is this normal tissue or structure? And you please ask for annotation and show me where is this normal tissue or structure. Come on. There. Okay, so what is it that you are outlining? What is that normal tissue or structure?
Ma'am, sebaceous glands and
Sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands and what?
ma'am, lining epithelium is stratified
People
squamous
say that
epithelium.
lining stratified squamous epithelium. Does it have a name, Ifat? Does it have a name? No, your stratified squamous lining epithelium. Does it have a name?
It's epidermis.
Wow, Ifat, finally, epidermis. So you have got epidermis, and if you've got epidermis, what do you also have?
Dermis.
Dermis. Excellent. So what is the definition of skin, Ifat? What happened here? Oh, something happened. Ruchi? We lost. Anyway, come on. Something went wrong. Okay, Ifat, come on. Sorry. Yes, come on. Can you hear me? Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now. So can you tell me what epidermis and dermis together, what do they constitute?
Skin.
Skin. All right. So now there is skin. Now, what kinds of skin do we have in our bodies? Are there different kinds of skin, or all the skin is the same, Ifat? All skin is the same. So the skin of my nose is like the skin of my
hand and foot में
hand and foot में क्या होता है? Hand and foot में
extra stratum lucidum extra layer होता है.
Oh, stratum lucidum. अच्छा, okay. All right. Anybody who
adnexal
this
structure.
question? Tejas? Do you agree that there is skin over here? Tejas? Tejas is not there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Excellent. Tejas, tell me, is there skin or there's no skin?
I think no skin.
There is no skin. Okay. So then what is the respiratory epithelium? Tejas?
Pseudo-stratified.
Agree with
Pseudo-stratified.
Pseudo-stratified what? What is the pseudo-stratification? Pseudo-stratified what? Epithelium?
Epithelium.
Ah, I see. Okay. So Tejas thinks that this is pseudo-stratified epithelium. Columnar epithelium, Tejas? What? Vishnu thought that there was a respiratory epithelium. You agree with Vishnu that there is respiratory epithelium, Tejas? Yes or no? Because respiratory epithelium is pseudo-stratified.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
So you think that there is epithelium that is respiratory. So we have two people, both of them are males, who think that there is pseudo-stratified respiratory epithelium. Okay, Isha.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree with them?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. So Isha, ask
Yes,
for
sir.
annotation. Tell me what is this normal structure or tissue that is present, and show me where it is, and tell me what
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is. Yes, very good, Isha. All right. So what is it?
Yeah. So, ma'am, we can see there are the epidermis layer, which is normal looking in scanner view, and on the above epidermis, we can see the stratum corneum.
Oh, you can actually see stratum corneum. All right. All right then.
Yeah. And ma'am, there is a below the epidermis, there is a normal dermis also, which have adnexal structure also seen.
Right. So
Beneath
what is
them,
that
which
next
is glands.
structure, Isha?
Ma'am, they are the sebaceous glands.
Yeah, sebaceous glands. All right. So do you want to tell both your colleagues Tejas and Vishnu why this is not pseudo-stratified respiratory epithelium? Huh? Why? Because they think it is.
Ma'am,
Because it is said that this is the nose. Okay. Because it is said that this is the nose, they think that this is respiratory epithelium. Okay. So you don't think that there is respiratory epithelium, do you, Isha?
no, ma'am. No, ma'am. It's not looking like respiratory epithelium.
It is not. Why?
Ma'am, because it is there is a respiratory epithelium is a pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium.
Okay, but suppose it is ulcerated pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium. Why is this not respiratory epithelium?
Because, ma'am, we can see normal epidermis layer also there.
So you can see epidermis and you can see adnexal structures, which is sebaceous glands. All right. So if you're seeing sebaceous glands, you're seeing hair follicles. How can this be respiratory epithelium? Tejas and Vishnu, do you agree that there are sebaceous structures over here? Lots of sebaceous structures.
Yes, ma'am.
Then why did you say it was respiratory when we were asked what is normal? Huh? Look at the amount of sebaceous structures and hair follicles. So there is absolutely no respiratory epithelium. Just because this is the nose, we have said it is a mass on the nose, not in the nose. Do you know the difference, Tejas, between in and on? What's the difference, Tejas, between in and on? Are you there, Tejas?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me the difference between in and on.
The tumor within the nose, or
in means inside.
Inside.
Yes. On means on the top.
Outside.
Okay. So how could you get this is on the top and everybody is seeing skin over here, skin which is made up of epidermis and dermis, and the dermis has got all these sebaceous glands, right? So if somebody had to ask you, all right, do you think that this skin is from the nose? Would you agree or not agree, Tejas?
Yes, agree.
This is the skin of the nose. Now we have established that this is skin. It is skin which has got a lot of sebaceous glands. So do you think it is from the nose, or has somebody mislabeled this as nose? What do you think, Tejas?
Not miserable. Yes, agree with skin.
Skin? You agree that it is the skin? Do you agree it is the skin of the nose?
Yes.
Or is this the skin of my palm?
No, skin of nose.
Okay. Why do you say that, Tejas?
There is a lot of sebaceous gland, hair follicles.
All right. So suppose I tell you, Tejas, that this is the skin from the palm of my hand. Will you agree, or you'll say no?
No.
You'll say no. Why will you say no?
There will be no hair follicles on palm.
Yes, so there will be no hair follicles. Can there be sebaceous glands
Yes,
on the palm?
yes, there will be presence of sebaceous.
Oh, there will be sebaceous glands on the palm. All right, Vishnu, will there be sebaceous glands on the palm?
No, ma'am.
No, no, sorry, no.
Ah, Tejas.
No,
there-
no, sorry.
No, absolutely not. Why?
No, no.
Because you don't have. You
No.
think that you have sebum
No.
on your palms and
No.
soles? No, absolutely not. You get sweat glands.
Sweat glands,
Yes.
sweat glands, sweat
I
glands.
suppose you may be sweating now because I'm asking questions, no? And you may have sweat on your palms. You can sweat on your soles, but you cannot have sweat glands and hair follicles. So you know what kind of skin this is? This is hair-bearing skin. Okay, and there are many parts of the body in which you do not get hair. So when you are describing skin, the first thing that you do is to say, is this skin hair-bearing or non-hair-bearing? Okay, and then you can describe all sorts of other things as to how much keratinization there is or not, or whatever else you want to say. But the first thing that anybody describes when you are describing skin is whether it is hair-bearing or non-hair-bearing, because there are some things that cannot happen on non-hair-bearing skin. Now, what are the things that cannot happen on non-hair-bearing skin?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, tell me those things that cannot happen. Those things means those tumors that cannot happen on non-hair-bearing skin. Come on. So if I have non-hair-bearing skin, and you know where you have non-hair-bearing skin, which are the parts of the body that do not bear hair?
Palm and sole, basically.
Palms and soles, yes, mainly palms and soles. Okay, so now you tell me, what are those tumors that do not occur on palms and soles?
Hair follicular tumors.
Yes, very good. Okay, and
Sebaceous.
and sebaceous tumors. Yes. Anything else? Anything else? Do you get apocrine tumors?
Apocrine tumors, ma'am.
No, because where do the apocrine glands actually open? Where do apocrine glands open? Eccrine glands open onto the surface of the skin. Where do the apocrine glands open?
In fundibular part of the hair.
Absolutely. Okay, so if you don't have hair shafts or hair follicles, or you don't have, pilosebaceous units, you cannot also get apocrine glands. So you do not get apocrine glands in non-hair-bearing skin. So you don't get apocrine glands, and this is something that we need to understand. And it makes life simple when you are trying to then make diagnoses. If you know what can and cannot, be expected in a particular part and why we should not expect it. All right, come on, Ifat. Now we have established that there is some normal epithelium. Okay, very good. There is epithelium means there is skin.
The skin.
Yes, there is normal skin, and that skin is hair-bearing skin with plenty of normal sebaceous glands. So, is there any normal structure or tissue? The answer is yes, and you have told me what it is. Now, number 2, what is the next question you have to ask, Ifat?
If there is any abnormality?
Abnormal. So, is there any abnormal?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, there is an abnormality. Very good. And this abnormality, what is its relationship of the normal to the abnormal? Come on. And this is skin, and I told you it's important.
Yes,
What is
ma'am.
the relationship? And what would you want to look at with respect to relationships?
Abnormal tissue. Abnormal part is located in the dermal part of the.
Excellent. So this is not arising in the epidermis. It is in the dermis and is pushed, or it is pushing and ulcerating the overlying epidermis. Yes, agreed?
Yes.
Very good, Ifat. Excellent. Now, what is the third, the other part of this relationship? I told you, it's not just where is it situated, but also
Where it is arising.
no, that is where it is situated, is where it is arising. That is okay from the point of view of whether it's in the dermis or in the epidermis. But the relationship to the normal is it destroying the normal? Is it infiltrating the normal? That means, is it just pushing the normal structures? So what would you say? Is it circumscribed? Is it infiltrative? Is it destructive? What would you say, Ifat? What would you say? Somebody's saying ulcerative. Yes, it is ulcerative. So if it is ulcerated, then that's what we said. That's probably an ulceration that is
Poorly circumscribed, ma'am.
poorly circumscribed.
And infiltrated.
Poorly circumscribed and infiltrated. All right. Anybody else who has not answered before? Come on, Saujanya. Do you agree that it is poorly circumscribed and infiltrating?
Ma'am, I feel it is well circumscribed.
It's well circumscribed. All right, Saujanya. Ask for annotation and please show Ifat why you think it is well circumscribed. Come on, Saujanya. You don't know how to ask. Lovely.
Yes,
Come on.
ma'am.
Now.
Ma'am, it's well,
Yes, so show me. No, so draw the outline so that you can show that it is well circumscribed. Saujanya thinks, Ifat thinks it is infiltrative. Huh? Oh, you've drawn something in pink over there. All right. Anybody else thinks that it is circumscribed, or everybody thinks it is infiltrative? Vishnu, what do you think?
Infiltrating,
She's
ma'am.
drawn it now. You've drawn it well. Yes, it is circumscribed. Yes, Vishnu.
Infiltrating, ma'am.
You think it's infiltrative. Now I'm drawing the outline. Huh? Now, do you think that this is infiltrative? No. What I'm seeing over here are sebaceous glands, normal and normal. So I agree entirely with Saujanya that this is a circumscribed tumor. You can see the bulbous nature of this circumscription. Okay, can you see it or not? It is very bulbous. Look at this. I don't think that there is any issue about this. This is bulbous on top. It seems to have caused an ulceration of the overlying epithelium. So we can't make out much about here. But look at the lower edge of this lesion. Anybody is not happy with this description? Please tell me. Shrishti, do you agree it is circumscribed, or do you
Yes,
think that it is infiltrative? You don't have to agree with me. Okay,
No,
because
ma'am, it is
you have
circumscribed.
people on your side. You have, there is Ifat on the other side, Vishnu on the other side. Tejas, what do you think? Tejas, are you there? Isha, what do you think?
Ma'am, it's not infiltrating to the down.
So it is not infiltrative. You can see the bulbous on both sides. Whether it is here, you can see it. It's nice and bulbous. So it is circumscribed. The lower edge is circumscribed. You can see that. And we can't say anything about the edge on top because it is ulcerated. Okay, so this is a circumscribed lesion. All right, I don't know where Tejas is gone, but let's get on with the description. Okay, now are you, Ifat, do you agree that it is circumscribed?
Yes, ma'am.
So you can see it. It's pushed the sebaceous glands below in a kind of a pushing border. You can see it is beautifully circumscribed. All right, now come on, we'll describe this. Come on, Ifat.
Yes, ma'am. The region is composed of epithelial aggregates of various sizes and shapes in upper dermis.
Epithelial aggregates. Acha, okay.
With surface ulceration, the neoplastic aggregates are composed of predominantly solid nest, a solid sheet of basaloid cells with some
Solid
cystic
sheets
structure.
of basaloid cells. All right.
Yes, ma'am. With some cystic structure also.
Okay, solid sheets of basaloid cells. Really? Where are the solid sheets of basaloid cells? Do you know what are basaloid cells?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So tell me, how do you define a basaloid cell?
Ma'am, a polygonal cell with high NC ratio and scant cytoplasm.
Okay, that is a basaloid cell. Why is it called basaloid?
It looks like the basal cell of epidermis, ma'am.
It looks like the basal cell of the epidermis. So what color should it look?
Blue.
Blue. Acha, now show me the solid sheets of blue cells. Solid sheets, huh?
No, ma'am, it is not solid.
Oh, no, ma'am, it is not. So why did you say it in the first instance? Because you made a diagnosis.
No basaloid cells are seen, ma'am.
I'm sorry, who said that? Who was talking, Vishnu?
Ma'am, no basaloid cells are seen in this field.
There are no basaloid cells in the field. Are you
They
absolutely
are
certain about that?
sebaceous cells.
So you're seeing sebaceous cells, all right? And how do you know they're sebaceous cells? Vishnu,
Sebaceous-
can you ask for annotation and show me the sebaceous cells?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now show me where are these sebaceous cells? Where are they? You started marking? Are they? Oh, he loves this pink. All right. So that is a sebaceous cell. Okay. These are sebaceous islands. Yes, I can see them. All right. They're all over. Even these. I've got, well, they're a little bit more mixoid or whatever. Yes. So there are no solid sheets of basaloid cells, but on the other hand, Vishnu,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, you can't say that all of them are sebaceous cells, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What are these cells that you're seeing here? Oh, what are these cells? What are these? What are these?
These are germinated.
These are basaloid cells. So
Basaloid
yes, there's a mixture. All these are actually nodules, right? They are nodules or clusters or whatever you want to call it. They are nodules of epithelial cells that are a mixture of basaloid cells and which are showing sebaceous differentiation. Here you can see it. And if you were asked to say how many or what is the ratio of the basaloid cells to those that are showing sebaceous differentiation, Isha, what would you say? Which is more, the sebaceous cells or the basaloid cells?
Ma'am, sebaceous cells are more looking comparative to basaloid.
Basaloid cells. Okay. Is anybody has any issue about this? Now, Vishnu, if you had looked at this and said, I don't see basaloid cells, I might have agreed with you, but there are every one of these sebaceous islands has got a basaloid rim to it. Every one of these. So it
Yes,
is.
ma'am.
Oh, yes. So you can't say that there are no basaloid cells, Vishnu, not even in the previous. In the previous, there were many more basaloid cells. Right. So the ratio of the basaloid cells to the sebaceous type cells is in favor of the sebaceous cells. There is more than 50% of this tumor is made up of sebaceous type cells. Okay. So there we are. Now you can see this. You can see the differentiation from very pink sebaceous cells to some that don't have as much vacuolated cytoplasm. And you also have keratinization over here. You can see that in the center of some of these islands, there is actually keratinization. Okay. So we have got basaloid cells. These are nodules of basaloid cells. And why is it a nodule, please, Saujanya? What is the definition of a nodule? Why am I calling this a nodule? Saujanya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm there.
So why is it a nodule?
Ma'am, it's the shape is
Yes.
circular, ma'am.
The shape
And
is?
It's a circular in shape.
It's not circular. This is by no means circular. But in a nodule, at least some portion of that nodule must have an arcuate border. Now, what is the meaning of arcuate? It looks like the arc of a circle. Okay. So if I have something that's square, it is not a nodule. Okay. So it need not be entirely circular, but you see the arcuate nature of this. There is an arc somewhere. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So Tejas, it's not well, you're calling it a small lump, but a lump may be infiltrative. No, and that I will not call a nodule. So Tejas wrote something in the chat box. All right. So this is what we have. We have a relatively circumscribed tumor, and here you see a higher power view of the same, and it tells you that there is much more sebaceous differentiation than basaloid, but the background is basaloid. There is no two ways about this, and you can see the sebaceous differentiation is multivesicular. I hope you can see that then each of these sebaceous cells, and they're big cells, some of them are so big that you can't see the nucleus in these cells. Okay, if I annotate it, I will show you. These are cells that look as if they don't have nuclei. Okay, but they do have nuclei, except that because this is cut at 3 mu, the nuclei, the cells are so large, they must be about 5 mu or even 6 mu, that the nucleus is not in this plane of the section. So this is beautifully outlined, but these are polygonal cells with multiple vacuoles. You can see it's microvesiculated cells. And you can see many areas where you don't see any nuclei, but that's not because they have lost their nuclei. Look at this group of cells. It is because the cells are so large that in the plane of the section, the nucleus has not appeared. Look at them. Okay, that's very characteristic of sebaceous tissue. All right, now just Ifat, you are still doing this exercise. Have we finished describing this tumor?
Yes,
We
ma'am.
have described the cytoplasm, and that's why we are saying that these are These are sebaceous cells. They are nice, well demarcated. That means the cytoplasmic border is so well seen. Yes, very well demarcated cells, and they have multivesicular or microvesiculated cytoplasm. Now, what else do we describe in a cell? Because now we are at high power. What should we be
Nucleus.
describing in a nucleus? Very good, Ifat. So, what do you want to say about the nucleus?
And nucleus is round with vesicular chromatin
Yes,
and
very good.
inconspicuous nuclei.
Yes,
and
so
regular
you're
nuclear
right.
membrane.
Absolutely. There may be a chromocenter, but very inconspicuous nuclei. Very good. And
Regular nuclear membrane.
yeah, very good. Regular nuclear membrane. Do you see any pleomorphism or anything like that? Do you see mitoses?
Yes, ma'am. Mitosis is.
Yes, there is. Can you show me a mitosis?
Yes, ma'am.
Please ask for annotation and show me a mitosis. Where's the mitosis? Can you show me another mitosis? Can you show me? You think that's a mitosis? Why? Why is that a mitosis? And why is this not a mitosis somewhere else? Is this a mitosis?
No, it's not a mitosis, ma'am.
It's not a mitosis. Vishnu says it is not a mitosis. Yeah.
No, ma'am, the down she marked it's a mitosis. Whereas
Yes,
the above
correct.
one, the
Correct. The above are not. These are pycnotic cells. They are pycnotic nuclei. Yeah. And when does a nucleus start to get pycnotic? Vishnu, when does a nucleus start to become pycnotic?
in the tumor cells.
So why are these nuclei pycnotic? You're right. They're not mitoses. Anybody?
Because of apoptosis, ma'am.
Oh, somebody, Danish Ansari says that it is apoptotic. So does Dr. Nikhil. You really think that those cells are apoptotic with these nice oval shapes and all that? Huh?
I think the upcoming slides, mitosis is clearly.
Somebody called Ara Lakshmi says that they are matured. So what do you think about that, Vishnu? Are they matured? And what are, if they're matured, what are they maturing towards? Have you ever seen nuclei like this in your life, Vishnu?
Seen, ma'am.
Where have you seen nuclei like this? Oh, Danish now says that they are melanocytes. And Ankita says that they are squamous cells. Well done, Ankita. These are showing maturation towards squamous cells. And we've never seen squamous cells with these kind of pycnotic nuclei. So that's what it is. These are not mitoses, for God's sake. There is one mitotic figure which has been well pointed out over here by, but there are no other mitotic figures. So we've got so many cells over here. Okay, there must be, I don't know, maybe 200 cells, and there are no mitotic figures. So what does that mean, Ifat? What does it mean, Ifat?
Ma'am,
What
it
does
is
it
not.
mean?
It is not actively dividing.
That's right. So now we're talking about tumor. So when you don't see many mitotic figures, you see regularity of the nuclei. You see no pleomorphism. Yeah.
Benign nature of the.
So you think that this tumor is probably towards the benign end of the spectrum. I would be very uncomfortable about calling something like this a malignant tumor, right? Yes, very good. Now do you see anything here? Now do you know where this section has probably come from? Where is this?
Ulcerative part.
From the ulcerated area. Very good. And now why did you say that? Why did you say it's come from the ulcerated area? So now you can see there are inflammatory cells and there is some fibrin, yes, and you can see some keratin over here. You can see a little bit of necrosis, which means that the overlying squamous epithelium has undergone necrotic change. So this tumor is pushing and ulcerating the overlying epithelium. Do you see mitoses over here? Ifat? Answer is no. Even when it is ulcerating the epithelium, it does not show mitoses. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now here is another part of this tumor. And once again, I'm sure, Vishnu, that you can see that there are basaloid cells, yes?
Yes.
And there is sebaceous differentiation, but there are no mitoses. You can see some keratinization over here in the. Yes, very good. Excellent. And now you can appreciate the multivesicularity of the cytoplasm. So I'm just showing you lots and lots of these. Here's one mitosis that has popped up after a long time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, and another mitosis perhaps over here. Okay. So very few mitoses. Here's one. At very high power. And now everybody can see the multivesicular nature of these cells. Nice quiescent nuclei. Yeah, and you see the keratinization that is taking place within these groups of cells. A little pearl almost that is being formed over there. Okay. All right. So, Ifat, what is your diagnosis? Would you like to first tell me what is just tell me quickly what all are the observations that you made?
Ma'am, there is
Yes.
normal skin. And abnormal part pushes the normal dermis, and there's nodules of epithelial cell mixed with basaloid cell and sebaceous cell of sebaceous differentiation.
Yes.
And sebaceous sebocytes are more than basaloid cell, and they are very
Okay.
less number of mitosis.
Yes.
And,
So if I have to have the salient features, this is a tumor in contact with the epidermis in hair-bearing skin. That is how I would write a description. There is a circumscribing collarette. Do you know what is the meaning of a collarette? What is a collarette? See, I'm showing you. This is a collar. This is what nowadays is very fashionable to have. Not the usual collar as we think. And you see like what is called a Nehru jacket collar, yes, which outlines the neck. And you can see this collarette. What forms the collarette? See this. There is a circumscribing collarette of pilosebaceous units around it. Can you see all these pilosebaceous units are curving around this circumscribed tumor? Okay, can you see how they're bending themselves around it? This is a very, very important diagnostic clue in skin tumors. Okay, you see that with the pilosebaceous units around it. Yes, there is an erosion ulceration of the epidermis. Has anybody got a problem with the collarette? Because I'll show you another tumor which has a collarette, and that is again a diagnostic clue. Okay, and this tumor is this. What is this tumor? Anybody? You can write it in the chat box. You can any one of you knows what this tumor is, and this is a diagnostic tool. You would think that this is a squamous carcinoma because you can see squamous epithelium, you can see supposed infiltration. So now people are telling me in this chat box, a keratoacanthoma. It's a keratoacanthoma, and you see the collarette, you see this, the epidermis is bent. It is forming a collar around this. Otherwise, it would be in a squamous carcinoma. Why should you have this? It has a crater, and that crater has this collarette that is around it. And the meaning of collarette, whenever you say et, E-T-T-E, it means small. Okay, so it has a small collar around this particular. So this is a diagnostic clue that what you are looking at is very likely to be benign. Just remember this. And it means that there is a circumscription in the case of the keratoacanthoma. That circumscription is because it appears to be a crater that is growing downwards. I mean, it's got a downward thing. All right. There are two distinct cell types, and you were describing that, Ifat, basaloid and multivesicular sebaceous. Okay, the sebaceous areas predominate. You also have some keratinizing squamous areas, and then you have a number of negative features that you should keep in mind. They're relatively bland, round nuclei, absence of nuclear lobulation. The nuclei are round. They don't show you, sort of indentations and lobulation. And there are very few mitoses and absolutely no abnormal forms. So why should we actually notice this? Because, as I think some people might wonder, is this benign or is this malignant? If you give a lot of emphasis to the ulceration and you do not have this, because I thought you said it was infiltrative. Somebody else said it was infiltrative. It is not infiltrative. And if you don't pay attention, and if you said that this was a sebaceous tumor and it was infiltrating, then you have two choices. It is either a basal cell carcinoma with sebaceous differentiation, or it was a sebaceous carcinoma. And if it were a sebaceous carcinoma, it's not that you can't get sebaceous carcinomas. They're not very common. The most common site is in the eyelid. Okay? The next most common site is the scalp. It would be very unusual to get a sebaceous carcinoma on the nose. But all sebaceous carcinomas have very, very lobulated nuclei as well as abnormal mitoses. Now, I put this thing into an EQA, and these are the results of the EQAs and external quality assurance, and these are the number of participants. And you can see that the majority of the participants, I suppose 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the majority is 7, but a very good number of participants thought that this was a sebaceous carcinoma, which it is not. This is, yes, Ifat, what did you think?
Sebaceous adenoma.
You thought it was a sebaceous adenoma. Very good. So Ifat, see, this is what a sebaceous carcinoma looks like. Why is this not a sebaceous carcinoma? Because it's an unusual site. I've already told you that sebaceous carcinomas don't occur over here. The nuclei are uniform, very few mitosis, absence of necrosis, and it's non-infiltrative. And this is how a sebaceous carcinoma looks like. It is horrible. Now, then you look at some of your books, and you will find this picture, and it will call it a well-differentiated sebaceous carcinoma. And I beg to differ. I do not think that well-differentiated sebaceous carcinoma actually exists. Okay, if you want to call something a sebaceous carcinoma, please do look for abnormal mitoses, lobulations of the nuclei, and necrosis. All right, very good, Ifat. Thank you very much. So,
Thank you.
So this is actually a sebaceous adenoma. So, Vishnu, what did you think it was?
No, sebaceous adenoma.
Sebaceous adenoma. All right. What did Isha think?
Ma'am, I thought sebaceous carcinoma.
All right. But now I hope you're convinced that it is a sebaceous carcinoma. Yes. It doesn't matter what anybody makes, what diagnosis you make. Okay. But it has to be for the right reasons. All right. Shrishti, what did you think?
Initially I made it sebaceous carcinoma, but I understood sebaceous adenoma now.
Very good. Tejas is dropped out. All right. Saujanya.
Ma'am, sebaceous adenoma.
Excellent. So we are evenly matched over here. Very good. Now who wants to take the next case? Who is going to volunteer, or shall I? Come on, Vishnu. You're speaking all the time. Come on, take this case.
37-year-old female with an ulcerated cutaneous growth in the left axilla of recent origin. So what is the syndrome that this
I didn't say this, but you should be able to do this. Yes, come on, Vishnu. What is the syndrome that this tumor may represent? So I'll show you the case. Okay. So you're looking at it, Vishnu. Very quickly, will you describe it?
Yes, ma'am.
Quickly. What do you see over here? Now don't go into normal tissue and this and that. But I will ask you, Vishnu, what do you think in this bottom right-hand corner? What are these structures? Yeah, what are these structures?
Papillary architecture of scene.
Papillary? No, I'm not asking you that. Can you see these structures in the bottom right-hand corner?
Glands or the
Glands. Thank you. What glands? What glands are these? What glands? Sweat glands. What sweat gland? I'm sorry, you can't get away with saying sweat glands. Yeah, I know that they're not sebaceous glands. So what kind of sweat glands? Huh? What? Axillary sweat glands. Oh, wow, Vishnu, you should be in the diplomatic service. Huh? So you can be very vague about many things. Anybody in the chat box wants to answer? Yeah, somebody answered. Axillary. Somebody said ecrine. And shame on all of you. These are apocrine glands, and that is what you see. The pink, large glands that you see in the axilla are apocrine glands. Okay, that when you think axilla, you think apocrine glands. I'm not saying that there are no sweat glands in the axilla. There are sweat glands. Okay, but these are apocrine glands. Okay, come on now. Please quickly describe this, Vishnu.
Glands are with the papillary architecture.
No, I don't want you to describe the glands. I want you to describe the lesion over here. Yes.
The lesion is a circumscribed.
This is the lesion. And if anybody is looking for ecrine glands, the glands are here. These are ecrine glands. Quite different.
It is a circumscribed lesion, ma'am.
It's a circumscribed lesion. Very good, Vishnu. Anything else you want to say? That's it. It's circumscribed. Now suddenly Vishnu, when somebody else is talking, Vishnu is very happy to interject. Saujanya, help him please.
Ma'am, it's an ulcerated lesion.
Ulcerated. Do you think that there's skin here to be ulcerated? See, once again, if you don't ask yourself the question, what is it that you're actually seeing? Where is the skin to say that it is ulcerated? Huh? Saujanya, you see some squamous epithelium that is ulcerated? Oh no. Okay, Isha.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I can appreciate there is the distorted structure, distorted.
What does that mean? Shrishti,
Yes, ma'am.
what did you describe this thing as? Huh? Here is a lesion. Well, and what is the, how would you describe it? All right, there is no normal structure except for the eccrine and the apocrine glands. That's the normal structure. Is there any abnormality? Yes, there's an abnormality. What is the pattern of the abnormality? You guys are not even trying to use, something that is given to you on a platter. What is the pattern of the abnormality?
Papillary ulceration, ma'am.
There is something that he thinks is papillary. Now, how do you get papillary, Vishnu? A papilla is something that grows outwards from, right? Or inwards into. So you think this is growing outwards from? Or do you think it is growing inward?
Inward also.
Inwards. So what can grow inwards into what?
Papilloma.
Papilloma, yes, but what is this? It's a cyst, isn't it? It's a space. And this is a cystic space which has got, yes, you're seeing some things that look like necrotic material. We don't know it's dead. It doesn't have nuclei or anything. And then you have these proliferative structures that look as if they are papillae. And I don't know whether this was solid and these are pseudo-papillae or they are true papillae, because when you see some necrotic material or you see any other material, something might be pseudo-papillary, which means that everything else has fallen out and these bits of tissue which have got their stroma along with it, they're there. This whole thing might have been solid and things have fallen out and therefore you have bits of tissue with the stroma, and that's what a pseudo-papillary structure is. I don't know, it could be papillary or pseudo-papillary, but this is cystic. It looks cystic over here. All right, so there is a cyst, and that cyst is in the axillary area, in the skin of the axilla. And now see what is in that skin of the axilla. This is the solid portion of those papillary areas. Yes, come on, Vishnu, what do you see over here? What do you see? I might have copied from the previous thing. So once again, you're seeing sebaceous differentiation. Yeah, you can see that. Nice basaloid cells and sebaceous differentiation. You see the multi-vacuolation, and what we saw as being necrosis is what sebaceous cells do. What do sebaceous cells do?
Holocrine.
They're holocrine cells. Excellent. Who said that? Ifat. So what is a holocrine cell, Ifat?
Ma'am, the cell itself get degenerated and
they get degenerated? No, they don't get degenerated. There is nothing degenerative about holocrine. Yes, you said holocrine, so you should know. What is holocrine? Saujanya, what is holocrine? You have eccrine, holocrine, apocrine. So what's the difference?
Ma'am, holocrine glands secrete secretions which contain disintegrated cells.
They don't secrete secretions. There is no secretion. It is nothing but the whole cell falls out into
this
the lumen. Yes, the whole cell, holocrine. Okay, so the whole cell goes into the lumen. Very good. Then what is apocrine? Yes, Saujanya? What is apocrine?
Ma'am, sweat glands.
Sweat glands, no. It means that there is a snout. If you've seen an apocrine cell, you will know that there is a snout of cytoplasm. A snout means like a nose, a little bulbous part of the cytoplasm that is towards the lumen. Now that part falls off into the lumen. Okay, apo meaning towards one end, so it falls off into the lumen. Okay, apoptosis means what? Falling, or like leaves falling from a tree. So it's fallen off into that secretion. Okay, and finally you have merocrine or eccrine, whatever you want to call it. And that merocrine means the cells have a secretion, and that secretion goes into the lumen. Okay, so you have these, and of course you have an exocrine gland, which means that the secretion go into the bloodstream. So that is the meaning of holocrine, apocrine, and merocrine, and that is why what is happening to those cells as they get into the lumen? Okay, they die obviously because they don't have any kind of connection to and you get what looks like pultaceous material, which if you don't know better looks like necrosis. Okay, it is like putty. It has no nuclei and it stinks like hell because it is autolytic tissue. It is because it's dead. Okay, the second type, which is less stinky but it still stinks, is apocrine secretion because it is a part of the cytoplasm of the cell. It is not just a secretion. And finally, of course, you get merocrine, which is a secretion. It has its own odor, but the odor is not like a repulsive odor, something that you don't like to smell. And that's why everybody is busy putting what do you call it? Perfumes. Yes, perfumes under your armpits, which is a stinky thing because you've got apocrine cells. Okay, and everybody is splashing all kinds of things on their face, and people put perfumed hair oil and all, because look at the amount of secretions of the sebaceous apparatus that is coming out in your hair. And those who have very oily hair, it's the sebaceous stuff that is coming out in that hair. Okay, so this is not sebaceous differentiation. See, a lot of this, and it's all dead sebaceous holocrine tissue that is inside this cyst. And then here, yes, you get an occasional mitotic figure. So in other words, this is a sebaceous tumor. There is some keratinization as well, and so the keratin is also being flung out. And what is this tumor? Now, yes, come on, Vishnu, you've just seen a sebaceous tumor. So now what do you think? And I told you that you should come prepared. Okay, so did you read anything about sebaceous adenomas and sebaceous tumors at all, Vishnu? Oh, Vishnu wasn't there. Was he there? You were there. So did you know you had to come prepared? What? So did you read, or you just looked at the things and said, oh, it's a sebaceous adenoma? Which of you read? In fact, did you read?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did they tell you about sebaceous adenoma? You only read the histology, or you bothered to read something about sebaceous adenoma?
Histology part only.
Ah, there you are. See, Saujanya, what about you?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you read? What did you read?
Mostly the histology. Yeah.
Mostly the histology because people don't want to know anything else. Shrishti, did
Yes,
you read
ma'am.
anything?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you read?
Ma'am, mostly histology and that it's a benign tumor.
Okay. Isha, what did you read?
Excellent prognosis.
Ma'am, I read about all the epidermal type of tumor, just reading about the different type of benign and neoplasm.
All right. So this is a cystic sebaceous tumor. And if you had bothered to read, you would have known that sebaceous tumors occur outside of the scalp and, of course, on the eyelid and things in a syndrome which is called the Muir-Torre syndrome. All right. Which is a form of Lynch syndrome in which, you know what is Lynch syndrome?
Yes,
What is
ma'am.
Lynch syndrome?
Hereditary non-polyposis colorectal carcinoma.
That is Lynch syndrome. That is HNPCC is part of a Lynch syndrome. But what is the Lynch syndrome? And there it is. It is
Microsatellite instability.
instability syndrome. Yes, when you have the MLH1 or the MSH2 genes that are either missing or the protein is abrogated or whatever. All right, so there is a problem with the germline with those genes. So this is a very important part, and you get cystic sebaceous neoplasms, you get other kinds of sebaceous neoplasia. So you should, when you get a sebaceous tumor, you should try and find out whether there is a familial history of either colon cancers or other skin cancers like sebaceous adenomas. And in the laboratory, we can help them to find that out by doing what we call look for the expression of the MMR genes, okay, the instability genes. And this is what we do. We look for MLH1, MSH2, PMS2, and MSH6. And you can see this particular tumor has lost MLH1 expression and PMS2. How do we know that it is lost? Because the normal structures, in which case these are the blood vessels, are expressing it. So all normal tissues will express all 4 of these mismatch repair proteins, okay, MMR proteins. And these proteins are MLH1, PMS2, MSH2, and MSH6. Okay, so we do this and we find that the normal blood vessels, the endothelial cells, are expressing it, but the tumor cells have lost expression, which means that there could be a problem in the germline. Now, you will then have to ask them to get a family history and to alert them that this patient may be part of the familial Lynch syndrome. And that's what I said. You guys don't read everything about the cases. You have seen a sebaceous adenoma, and in that, if you go back and read, they will tell you that you should look out, or the sebaceous adenoma could be a part of the Muir-Torre syndrome or the Lynch syndrome, but you did not read it, okay? Because you have no curiosity. I must only get the right diagnosis, bus. No other curiosity at all. Okay. Now, the diagnosis in this case was proliferative cystic sebaceous neoplasm associated with the Muir-Torre syndrome. At the time of the diagnosis, there was no internal cancer in this patient. Okay, so the patient did not have a colon cancer. All right. Any questions in the chat box about this, Vanessa? These two, I finished one case, but there were 2 cases. If there are no questions, all right, very good. Let's go to the next case now. Let's ask Shrishti. Come on.
Yes, ma'am. 80-year-old male with a swelling of the dorsum of the right index finger. Excision biopsy is provided.
Very good. So what did you think now? Let's go to straight away to the histology. Come on, Shrishti.
It's an HNE stain section which shows 2 skin covered tissue beds where the epidermis is unremarkable, and the dermis shows infiltration by a tumor. The cells are disposed in the nodules and sheets. At the scanner view, I can see that.
Right. Yes. Can you show me the nodules, please? Can you annotate that for me?
Yes, ma'am.
You said nodules and sheets. Excellent. So I want to see the nodules and the sheets.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
All right. So what is it that you have outlined here?
Ma'am, nodule.
Nodule. Excellent. Where are the sheets?
Here.
Well, there's a whole sheet here, no? In this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a whole huge sheet here. All of this is sheet-like.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. And yes, there are nodules. So there's a nodule there is a nodule here, there is a nodule here, and there's a sheet. Okay, excellent. Very good, Shrishti. Now come on. So what do you want to say other than what you have said, nodules and sheets?
That the tumor appears circumscribed.
Yes, okay. It appears circumscribed. Excellent. Then, is there a pattern? You've already said nodules and sheets, but is there a pattern that you can discern? Other than that, the answer is no.
Small.
No. So where would you like to, see the hyper? Is there any specific place you want to see the hyper? That is question number 5. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Tell me where. Where would you choose to go under hyper? Hyper. And if you want to choose, you tell me why you want to choose. Wait, why do you want to go there? And not go here? In some other place? Why don't you want to go here? Or here? Or there?
Yes,
what made you choose that?
It looks like there's a lot happening there. So
you think there's a lot happening there? What is happening there? Huh? I don't think there's anything great happening there. You can go anywhere you want in this.
Yes, ma'am.
But there's one thing you didn't say, Shrishti. When you were describing all this, you said it is dermal, etc. Do you know whether this is going into the subcutaneous tissue or not? Is it entirely dermal?
It's entering. Looks like it's entering subcutaneous tissue as well.
Okay, so here's the subcutaneous tissue.
Yes, ma'am.
It is entirely dermal. No? Where is it in the subcutaneous tissue? So this is a classic dermal tumor. There's no 2 ways about this. This is not in the subcutaneous tissue. All right. Now, come on, describe.
These tumor cells appear that as if they're monomorphic in nature.
Excellent, Shrishti. They're monomorphic. Yes.
And they appear to be small,
right?
Small in size, blue round tumor cells.
So it's blue. So they're blue, which means what? What does blue mean? It's blue. There's no doubt about that. This tumor is blue. So
Yes.
what does that blue mean?
Basaloid.
Basaloid. Yes, basaloid. it's monomorphic. It's blue. It means that it has very little cytoplasm.
Cytoplasm.
Basal cells are blue because they have very little cytoplasm. Okay. So here we have, and you were right that they are just sheets of what we would now call round cells. This is not basaloid, because basaloid cells must have a cuboidal or some kind of cytoplasmic boundaries to it. Can you see a cytoplasmic boundary over here, Shrishti?
No, ma'am.
No, because there's no cytoplasm. Okay, so all you're seeing are nuclei, nuclei, and nuclei. So we want to describe these nuclei.
Yes, ma'am. These individual tumor cells have a high NC ratio, round to oval nuclei with salt and pepper chromatin.
Salt and pepper chromatin. Okay, you really can see salt and pepper chromatin.
Not on this one, I can't.
Actually, what I can see is in the way that this tumor cell is actually all the nuclei are placed. I don't see salt and pepper. What I'm seeing are very pale, washed out nuclei. Do you see any chromatin at all? I don't see any chromatin. I don't, not at all. In between, I see apoptotic cells. But I see something about the pattern in which these nuclei are placed. And what is that? Come on, Shrishti, or anybody else? Huh? Vishnu? Tell me, what is peculiar about the way the nuclei are placed? One against the other.
No, nuclei is having a stippled type of chromatin.
I'm not asking you about the chromatin, and it is not stippled, for God's sake. So what will you call the pattern of the way that the nuclei are placed with
Molding.
each other? Molding. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You can see one nucleus next to the other taking the shape of the other nucleus. Just look at the nuclear molding. It is so beautiful. It's so you've got a small blue cell tumor in which there is no cytoplasm, and you have got pale nuclei which are showing you nuclear molding. Just look at that. Okay, and I don't see any stippling. All these are very, very pale nuclei. Show me the stippling. Everybody's busy talking about stippling. I don't see any stippling. Do you know what a stipple is? They are points, they are dots. So I would expect to see, like, you have made dots in the nucleus. I don't see a single dot. Everything is pale. So people imagine, they have all discussed it in their amongst their in their departments, come to a diagnosis, and then talk, make up fancy. They just invent a histology which isn't there. So if anybody can show me nucleus stippling, any one of you, ask for an annotation and show me a stippled nucleus. Anybody has a second see a stippled nucleus? Shrishti, you can see? You also started salt and pepper. Yeah? You can see salt and pepper, Shrishti. Then show it to me.
No, ma'am.
Ifat, can you see salt and pepper?
No, ma'am, it's finely dispersed.
Yeah, finely dispersed. It is absolutely pale and uniform.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, one or two of these nuclei might show some more central pallor and an accentuation of chromatin around the nuclear membrane. But no. Vishnu, you are now happy to call this, stippled?
No, ma'am.
No. Anisha?
No, ma'am, it's clearly looking like a pale washed out nucleus
Very
with
good.
the molding.
You didn't want to say stippled because this is not stippled. So now please tell me, who was describing this? Saujanya, were you describing or?
Ma'am, I was describing.
Yes, come on, Shrishti. So what was your diagnosis?
I made it Merkel cell carcinoma.
You called it what?
Merkel cell
Merkel cell carcinoma. Okay. Did you say look at the number of microcles? It's huge.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's why Merkel cell carcinoma is a what kind of carcinoma, Shrishti?
The neuroendocrine carcinoma.
Neuroendocrine carcinoma. And therefore, we should see stippling. Yes, and we should see salt and pepper. Yes or no, Shrishti? So therefore, you saw stippling when it didn't exist. And this is very common. You make a diagnosis and then make up the observations. That's very sad because there is not one stippled nucleus here. What you have is, look at the nuclear molding. My God, I tell you, if you hadn't noticed the nuclear molding, please notice it now. Look at all these cells which are molded. So which cells have got nuclear molding? Which tumor has nuclear
Small
molding?
cell carcinoma.
Arey vah, small cell carcinoma. So what was your diagnosis?
Ma'am, small round blue cell tumor.
Vishnu, small round blue cell tumor. All right. Yes, Ifat, what was your diagnosis?
Ma'am, a small round blue cell tumor, possibly metastasis from lung. Small cell carcinoma.
Excellent. Very good. Okay. Ifat thought that this was a metastasis from the lung. Which kind of tumor from the lung?
Small cell
What is
carcinoma.
Yes.
Small cell carcinoma.
Small cell carcinoma. Excellent, Ifat. Shrishti thought Merkel cell carcinoma. Saujanya, Vishnu
Mama.
said small round cell. Yes, Saujanya.
I thought it's Merkel cell carcinoma.
Merkel cell carcinoma. And so you also saw stippling?
Mm.
Yes or no, Saujanya?
No, it's clear, washed out. Nucleus.
Now you can see this, but did you see when you were describing it to yourself or to your friends? Did you see stippling? Because Shrishti said it straight away. Did you? No. Because what is a Merkel cell carcinoma, Saujanya? What is it?
So a small round blue cell carcinoma. It's a neuroendocrine tumor, ma'am.
Right. So should you have nuclear stippling? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
You should. So why isn't there nuclear stippling here in this Merkel cell tumor, which is a neuroendocrine carcinoma?
No, ma'am.
Did you wonder? Did your mind think? No. Okay. Isha. Isha,
Yes,
what do you think?
Ma'am, in start, I think it's a glomus tumor for when I
Glomus
saw.
tumor.
No.
Acha. Yeah. Now do you think it's a glomus tumor? No. Okay.
No, ma'am.
So what are the salient features? It's blue. It's a double tumor, circumscribed, but not encapsulated. Sheets of cells forming vague nodules. Virtually no stroma. All right. Neuroendocrine tumors with stippling, etc. There should be a stroma, right? If you're going to get stippling. Monotonous blue cells with little cytoplasm. Round, pale, nuclei, inconspicuous, if any nucleoli. Mitosis are there, they're not sparse, but they're there, and there's no necrosis. All right. So what are the thoughts? Now come on. Is it congenital or acquired, Shrishti?
It's acquired.
All right. Is it physiological or pathological?
Pathological.
All right. What is it? Neoplastic or non-neoplastic?
Neoplastic.
All right. Benign or malignant?
Malignant.
Excellent. So it's malignant. All right. And now tell me, is it primary or metastatic or secondary?
Secondary.
So now you think it is secondary. You thought it was a Merkel cell. Now you think it's secondary. Huh? Because you heard it first. And you didn't find stippling. So the question is it primary or secondary? And how are we going to make this? How do we make the difference? See, small, it is blue, it has mitoses, not too many, but it does. Okay, it is molding. So what are we describing? A small blue cell molded tumor. Okay, we are describing a small cell carcinoma. That is what we are describing. Okay, so now if you want to make a diagnosis of Merkel cell tumor, you have to ask yourself, is a Merkel cell tumor a small cell carcinoma or not? So what would you say, Srishti? Is a Merkel cell carcinoma a small cell carcinoma?
No, ma'am.
No. So did you read about Merkel cell tumors, Srishti?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have read, that's the first thing that they say, that a Merkel cell carcinoma is a high-grade neuroendocrine carcinoma, which is a small cell carcinoma. So you just said Merkel cell, I don't know whether you discussed it in your department, and Merkel cell neuroendocrine, therefore I must see stippling. Stippling is only seen in neuroendocrine tumors which are well differentiated. So you can't see it in a high-grade neuroendocrine carcinoma, but you saw it. Why? You didn't see it, but your mind saw it. Because to you, neuroendocrine carcinoma or neuroendocrine tumor must be stippled. Okay, so please your observations have to be true, and you don't make up observations after you have made a diagnosis. Okay, so what is the diagnosis in this 80-year-old male with an index finger tumor in the skin? If it is primary, it could either be hematolymphoid, undifferentiated carcinoma, neuroendocrine carcinoma, that is a small cell carcinoma, or a melanoma. You can't rule these out. If it is metastatic, it is an undifferentiated carcinoma, neuroendocrine carcinoma, which, if I've mentioned, is a small cell carcinoma. It could be an alveolar adenomyosarcoma, an undifferentiated sarcoma of Ewing type, or melanoma. So we have to, do some immunohistochemistry to prove what we think this is. As far as I'm concerned, it is molding, and I would not have any of these in it except for neuroendocrine carcinoma of small cell type on both sides. I have never ever seen Ewing sarcoma molding, melanomas molding, alveolar adenomyosarcomas molding. This is just a made-up list of tumors that you might expect when you have a small blue cell tumor in the skin. Okay, you have to now consider primary or metastatic. And as I said in my book, it's neuroendocrine carcinoma of small cell type. Now I'll tell you what 19 participants, when we sent this around for an EQA, 11 of them made a diagnosis of Merkel cell carcinoma. And somebody thought glomus, right? Isha, you thought glomus. So you've got somebody in, who agrees that it is glomus. 3 people thought. 3 people thought melanoma. All right, maybe. Adenomyosarcoma, somebody thought, and somebody thought nevus. Okay. Merkel cell carcinoma is the right diagnosis. It cannot be a glomus tumor because a glomus tumor forms nests. Okay, these are not nested. So Isha, these are sheets. There is no pattern except for molding of the nuclei in the sheets. There are no nests. So this just cannot be a glomus tumor, please. All right. So glomus tumor is absolutely off this thing. Melanoma, okay, but what kind of melanoma can this be? There's hardly any cytoplasm to this tumor. Once in a way, a melanoma can be confused for a small cell carcinoma. Very high-grade melanoma, so all right, that's a diagnosis, but it wouldn't be my first diagnosis. Alveolar adenomyosarcoma, it is not, because it's anyway alveolar, which nevus is going to have this kind of. So there is only one diagnosis that is tenable, and that is a small cell carcinoma. And if you believe that this is a primary in the skin, then it is a Merkel cell tumor. If you think that it is metastatic, say this, you never bother to find out whether the patient is a smoker, has got a large lung, or even a small lung nodule, then the joke's on you, because the diagnosis is small cell carcinoma. If it is primary, it is likely to be Merkel, but you have to rule out a metastasis from somewhere. So Ifat was on the right track. So what immunohistochemistry? We do a screening panel, and then if you want to do additional markers, you do additional markers. You don't have to know what to do and how to do. It is how do you approach this thing. Okay, now here, cytokeratin. Srishti, is it positive or negative?
Positive.
Yes, very good. Here you see this beautiful cytoplasmic and membrane. So yes, cytokeratin. And this is CK20. So what does that mean? Huh?
Epithelial.
No, CK20 is, you do CK7 and CK20 in many tumors. But if you are suspecting a Merkel cell tumor, this is the immuno to do, because a lung carcinoma that is metastatic to the skin is very unlikely to be CK20 positive, but a Merkel cell will be CK20 positive. It's just one of those features of a Merkel cell tumor. It is 7 negative and 20 positive, and it's beautifully CK20 positive. And you want to know about its neuroendocrine? Yes, it is synaptopositive, and INSM1 is a new marker. It's one of these insulin type markers, which is positive. You can see it as nuclear staining. So there is no doubt that this is a neuroendocrine carcinoma of small cell type, and because this is CK20 positive, and there is nothing in the lung, this is a Merkel cell carcinoma. But you cannot make this diagnosis without first figuring out whether it is CK20 positive, and whether there is a lung tumor or not. Okay, so what was very important in this case is to make the diagnosis of a small cell carcinoma, and it had all the characteristics of a small cell carcinoma with nuclear molding, no cytoplasm, blue cells. It had all of those characteristics. And before we make a diagnosis of a primary small cell carcinoma in the skin, which is called a Merkel cell carcinoma, we have to rule out that there is nothing in the lung. If we have cytokeratin 20, CD20, it's not CD20, it's CK20 positive. Yes, that's a misprint. If it is CK20 positive, you can presume that your diagnosis of Merkel cell carcinoma is there, and the majority are. But if you don't get a CK20 positive, you still have to go and check whether the lung has a tumor or not. Treat it as a small cell carcinoma, and the main differential diagnoses are metastatic small cell carcinoma and melanoma. Okay, this is an interesting tumor because it is caused by, it's one of the viral associated tumors, and it's caused by the polyoma virus. Okay, so that's what you need to know about a Merkel cell tumor. Good. Are there any questions in the chat box? None, Vanessa? Then we'll
So,
go to
ma'am, the answer should be those K67 for grading. K67 for grading.
Ki67. What do we need to grade something which is a frank small cell carcinoma? No? Do you think that this is going to have a low Ki67? No. All right. You do it if you're not sure whether something is a well differentiated or a poorly differentiated histology. This is a very frank poorly differentiated histology, so you don't need to do a Ki67 in this case. All right. Anything else?
Ma'am, I have a question. Where
Yeah,
do
who's
the
this?
proliferating sebaceous neoplasm come between benign and malignant?
Yeah, but there is no such thing as benign and malignant. If you are not sure, then you just call it, sort of proliferating. The issue is, well, what is likely to metastasize? And the only thing that's likely to metastasize is what we call a high-grade sebaceous tumor. The others might have local recurrence, just like a basal cell tumor will do, but it is very, very unlikely to metastasize. So why call it a carcinoma? That's my view on this, on sebaceous neoplasms. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
All
Thank you,
right, Vanessa. All right, now who's going to take this one? Who hasn't taken one? Vishnu has done, Shrishti has done. Saujanya, you want to do this?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good.
The case history is 51-year-old female with a lesion on the vulva. So
Excellent.
the H&E section under low magnification shows skin with epidermis and dermis. The basal and the suprabasal portion of the epidermis shows a foci of neoplasm.
Oh, there's a focus of neoplasm where?
Here.
Where is the focus of neoplasm? I see. Okay, so there is a focus of neoplasm over there. All right. Now you said that it's skin, right? Yeah. You said it's skin. There's a lesion on the vulva. So does the vulva have skin? Only have the vulva has only skin? Can the vulva have? Why are you calling it skin? Why isn't this mucosa? You know that the vulva like the lips, yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
has got a mucosal surface and a skin surface, right?
Yes.
So now tell me, is this vulval skin or is it vulval mucosa?
Mucosa.
How will you know?
Ma'am, it's granular.
The granular layer.
Don't talk together. Who wants to answer the question? Huh? Isha or who?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
mucosa,
Yes, Sifat. Is it skin or mucosa? She said it's skin.
ma'am, it is not appreciable at this power.
It's not appreciable at this power. All right. Vishnu, is this skin or mucosa or it is not appreciable at this power? Vishnu, are you there? Vishnu is weird. He's hungry. Shrishti,
Ma'am, skin.
you think it's skin? All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Anisha?
Ma'am, I'm thinking that it is a skin
Why?
because, ma'am, because we can see there the granular layer is intact.
Because the granular layer is intact. That's why it is skin. So have you ever seen a buccal mucosa that is so keratinized and is keratinizing with a granular layer? Then we'll say that the buccal mucosa is skin then. Huh? So do we really identify skin? All right. How do we identify it?
Ma'am, muscle.
What? By muscle.
Buccal mucosa.
Ma'am, adnexal structures are
Adnexal structures. Very good, Isha. What can you see adnexal structures? Because if I said I can't make out anything at
Yes,
this part.
ma'am, there is many there is a
There's
glands are
which
there.
is the most common. You can see hair. I don't think that there's hair. I don't think that there's hair at all. So is this hair? I told you, if you're looking at skin, you have to. Your first thought should be, if this is skin, is this hair bearing or non hair bearing? All right. So you are saying that this is skin. So is it hair bearing or non hair bearing? You know what vulval skin is like?
Hair bearing.
Hair bearing.
Hair.
Oh, vulval skin is hair bearing. All right. Do you see something else? What are all these structures? Oh dear. Oh dear.
Glands,
Huh? What are these structures? And you're seeing them all. Here.
sweat glands,
Ma'am, adnexal structure.
Hey, wow, they are sweat glands.
glands,
So you get sweat glands in the mucosal surface? What is the answer?
skin.
So this
No,
is non-hair bearing skin because we have got eccrine glands.
glands.
Or certainly see all these. You can see these glands over here.
Gland.
Yes, look at them. Can you make out that they are little groups over there which have their own little stroma?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So we have, this is skin without a doubt, and it's skin because you have sweat glands down there. Now you can see the sweat glands here in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, you can see the sweat glands in the bottom right hand corner. Yes, see these? And these are the sweat glands, and you see this beautiful sweat duct. See, it's going up to open somewhere onto the epidermis. And here is another sweat duct, but it's looking very abnormal. You can see the sweat duct, it's looking abnormal. There are no hair follicles here at all. So you're seeing this, and if you look carefully, it has a mottled appearance. Can you see this? You know what's the meaning of mottling? What is mottling? Who's this? Shrishti? Who's answering? No. Sorry, Saujanya. What is the meaning of mottling?
Like irregular spots are formed.
No, mottling means that you see all things that look as if there are holes. Okay, like you see
Yes,
in the T zone when it is proliferating in the lymph node. You see
Yes,
little, they are lightly stained, so they look like holes. So in a darkly stained area, you are seeing these lightly stained areas, which in this case are cells, and they look as if they are. This is the term that is called mottling. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so it is mottled. Now you notice, Saujanya, something
Yes, ma'am.
about the overlying epidermis. Okay, anything that resembles this mottling in the epidermis? No?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yes, ma'am.
Right throughout. In the epidermis, you are seeing mottled areas.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
What does
In the
this
base layer, we are able to
represent?
see, ma'am.
Sorry, who's saying something? Vishnu? What?
I mean, basal layer of the epidermis, we are able to.
In the basal layer. Why do you say only in the basal layer? Hey, there's mottling everywhere. The mottling has reached the top.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
almost the entire epidermis here. Just look at it. It's mottled. This whole area is mottled. It's reached up to the keratinized area. This entire epidermis is mottled. So what does this mottling mean? M-O-T-T-L-E. Like you have bottle, this is mottle. Okay? And we use it as a terminology very often to describe when you get a proliferating T-zone, where you get all the interdigitating reticulum cells, which have a lot of cytoplasm. And in the background of the blue lymphocytes, you are seeing these lightly stained cells with cytoplasm, and you say that it is mottled. It's a very, very important clue in the lymph node to say that there is probably T-zone hyperplasia, like in dermatopathic lymphadenitis, etc. Okay, so I'm saying mottling. So what does mottling actually mean here? I've got a mottled epidermis. I've got some mottling down here in these big ducts of the sweat gland. Look at this beautiful sweat gland duct going up like that. Oh, it's so beautiful that if you will only appreciate the real beauty of the specimen of the sections that there are. All right, so what does mottling mean? Come on, Sautanya. What does mottling mean?
Hmm.
I told you, no, what was mottling in this in the lymph node. So what can you imagine that mottling over here will represent?
There are large atypical cells or
Atypical. You know, and next time somebody uses this term, if I am close to you, I will literally murder you. Okay, that is a term that people use because they don't know what they are talking about. Then anything is atypical. You can't say atypical unless you know what is typical. So what is the typical cell over here that you are now calling atypical? Sautanya? I can say a lymphocyte is atypical. I can say that a squamous cell is atypical. Are you telling me that these are atypical squamous cells because they are not typical squamous cells? Huh? What? So please don't use this term. It is the laziness of mind that makes people use this term atypical. Atypical cells in the pleural fluid. Atypical cells, any damn thing is atypical. I want to ask, what is the typical cell that is now looking atypical? Laziness of mind. So come on, tell me, what should it mean? Okay, Sautanya doesn't want to answer. Ifat.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me, what does this mottling mean?
Ma'am, normal cell is replaced by some other
Normal
kind
cell
of
is what?
is replaced by some other kind of cell.
So there are the normal cells are now replaced by some other kind of cell, which is possibly not related to the normal cells that we expect to find over there. So somebody put up a hand. Who put up a hand? Shristi?
Ma'am, me, Isha.
Isha. Yes, Isha, tell me.
Yeah, so ma'am, we can see by the merkling in epidermis that there are these cells which have the pale cytoplasm comparative to other, surrounding epidermis.
That is true. But why do they have this pale cytoplasm? Why do they not look like normal epidermal cells? That is the important thing. And I think Isha tried to explain it well.
Ma'am, they're in Paget cells, Paget cells are
They are Paget cells. Areva, what is a Paget cell? Huh? What is a Paget cell? I learned it. I saw it. We discussed it in our department. And this is what Paget's looks like. Hey. Huh? Just see here now. You can see the same mottling in these large ducts. And you can see it here too. So now what? These cells and those cells and, you know, the epidermal cells. Now what are you going to say? Here again, you can see them. You can see them here too. And here too. And here. And here. Okay? You see the sweat cords. Yes, Vishnu, what are you going to say?
They are large polyhedral cells with
Yes.
with the prominent nucleoli present and which is surrounded by a clear halo, ma'am.
Very good, you described the cells. Now tell me, Vishnu, are they squamous cells or are they not squamous cells? They're sitting in the epidermis. So are they squamous cells or they're not squamous cells? Or are they
not
atypical cells? Huh?
No, they are not squamous.
Why do you say that?
No, because
Because? Yes, come on, Vishnu. Why? Why do you say that they are not squamous cells? That is the crux of the question, huh? Yes, come on, Vishnu, what? Why are they not squamous cells? Oh, they are definitely abnormal cells. We don't expect to see this. Yes. So they are abnormal. And you describe them beautifully. They have a large amount of cytoplasm. They have a nucleus with a nucleolus, and the cytoplasm is pale and eosinophilic. Each one of them has got a beautiful outline to the cytoplasm. You can see this. These are not inner incision. Okay, you described it, Vishnu. First class. I commend you.
Thank you.
Are they squamous or are they not? And you said not. So I said, now tell me, why are they not squamous? And while they are thinking, I'll ask other people. Shristi, are they squamous or are they not? Shristi, you're there? You're
Yes, ma'am.
you know? Yes, tell me.
They are squamous, atypical squamous.
There we are. So they're atypical squamous cells, according to Shristi. Ifat.
Ma'am, these are not squamous cells because there is no intercellular bridges, and squamous cells is generally pinkish, eosinophilic in color, and these are pale.
All right. So you don't think they are squamous, and you've given me some reasons as to why you think they are not squamous. Okay. All right. Sautanya, you think they're squamous or not squamous?
No, ma'am, they are not squamous.
They are not squamous. So why?
Ma'am, the cytoplasm has this intracytoplasmic mucin, ma'am, and
there's intracytoplasmic mucin. Not sure I can see intracytoplasmic mucin, but you think that there's intracytoplasmic mucin. Okay. All right. Vishnu has already given up. Isha?
Ma'am, because the cells have no intracellular bridging, and the cytoplasm is pale, abundant with the pale cytoplasm.
All right. Now let me ask you: if these were squamous cells, where would these squamous cells actually be arising from? They're tumor cells, right? And anybody thinks that they're not tumor cells? Everybody thinks they're tumor cells, or you think that they're not tumor cells? Are they or are they not tumor cells?
Tumor cells.
Do you think that they're virally infected or something? No, they're tumor cells, right? Very good. So where does a tumor of squamous origin arise from?
Basals.
From the basal area. Okay. So now, if they're arising from the basal cells, okay, then do you feel that they would not all be in layers like this, going all there? This would have to be dysplastic. It should be dysplasia, right? So do you think this is dysplasia, squamous dysplasia? What do you think? Anybody answering that question? This is not squamous dysplasia. You've seen a lot of squamous dysplasia, and this is not squamous dysplasia at all. So for all the reasons that you guys have given me, that these do not have, they look more like glandular cells, they do not have intercellular bridges, they have got individual nuclei, they've got pale cytoplasm, and all of that. Plus, this is not dysplasia, because if this was a carcinoma then this looks like an epithelial tumor, right? Or if you're saying that these are squamous cells, then this would have to be squamous dysplasia. And this is not squamous dysplasia. So what is it that we have? We have abnormal tumor cells of non-squamous type that are infiltrating the epidermis. That is what we have. We have a carcinoma, or it need not be a carcinoma. I'm not saying it is a carcinoma. It is malignant, non-squamous malignant cells infiltrating the squamous, the epidermis. That is what we are seeing. Okay, so the next question we have to ask ourselves is, what kind of non-squamous malignant cells can infiltrate the epidermis? And what's the answer to that, Saujanya? What kind of cells can infiltrate the epidermis that are not of squamous origin?
Glandular cells from the.
Glandular cells, very good. From where?
I think epithelial glandular.
From the adnexa. All right, very good. Any other non-squamous cells that can be in the epidermis? No. So think. So it's an intraepidermal or intraepithelial tumor which is not squamous. Okay, and now we need to ask, what are these non-squamous intraepithelial lesions? Okay, they are obviously tumors and they are in the epidermis. Okay, now tell me, what do you think they could be? And here's a list. If they are of ductal origin, it's Paget disease, and Paget can be mammary or extramammary. In this case, if this is a Paget, then it is extramammary. What about poromas? What is a poroma? It's a benign tumor that is arising from the, or differentiating towards the pore. No, the pore is opening onto the epidermis. So poromas, and poromas are benign. You can have pilosebaceous, because that also opens onto the epidermis, yes. And so you can get a sebaceous carcinoma that is in the epidermis. And you know that poromas can either be eccrine poromas or they can be poromas of hair follicle origin. So you can get a sebaceous carcinoma, and sebaceous carcinomas are often seen in the epithelium of, if you've got a sebaceous carcinoma of the eyelid, you will find it tracking its way in the conjunctiva of the eyelid, in an intraepithelial way. So wherever a pore opens, you have a sebaceous carcinoma. What about melanocytes? Huh? You don't get in situ melanoma. It's a non-squamous cell, isn't it? And it is in the epithelium. It's in the epidermis. So in situ melanoma. And what about our dear friend, the intradermal nevus? Is it of squamous origin? No. But it can be in the epidermis, yes or no? And all of this you guys know, but it was not written in our textbooks. Nobody told us. We didn't hear it in our, so I cannot think. This is what makes me absolutely disappointed. I'm happy that Ifat actually talked about ducts, but nobody thought of the others. Yeah, and then you have some others also. Spread of lobular carcinoma within the ductal epithelium of the major ducts. Okay, it's an epithelium, and in that epithelium, the lobular carcinoma creeps up. And next time you see a lobular carcinoma, please look at the big ducts. The lobular carcinoma occurs in the lobules, and then you have the ducts. And in the ducts, you will see this spread of lobular carcinoma in the ductal epithelium. And you also have sometimes urethral carcinomas, that's transitional cell carcinomas, in the penile squamous carcinoma. In penile not squamous carcinoma epithelium. I'm sorry, this is not carcinoma, it's epithelium. So in the penile epithelium, you will see DCC. Now this you may not know, but all the rest of it you should be knowing, because you have to think. Now everybody will write this down and mug it up. There is absolutely no reason to mug this. This is all, it's something that you can work out for yourself if you're only thinking. All right, so now you tell me, what is this? Come on, Saujanya, do you think that this is in situ melanoma, or do you think that it is Paget disease? It's certainly not a poroma. It is not a sebaceous carcinoma. So which is it?
It's Paget disease, ma'am.
Why do you think it's Paget? Why isn't it an in situ melanoma? It's got a nice nucleus. It's got a nice clear cytoplasm with a nucleolus and everything. So why? Why is this not a melanoma? Huh, Saujanya? Because we all discussed it and we all came to the conclusion that this is Paget disease. Yes, Saujanya? What was your departmental diagnosis, Saujanya?
Ma'am, extramammary Paget disease.
So there you are. So that's why you're saying it. Okay. Neha Sheikh says there is no pigment. Is it necessary to have pigment? No, you can get an amelanotic melanoma. Somebody said because of the site. Yeah, possible. But if I had to get a melanoma in the vulva, I could just as well get an in situ melanoma that shows this kind of thing. So you made this diagnosis without even thinking that there could have been an alternative. Okay. Yeah, so somebody says no mitosis, therefore it's not a melanoma.
Atypical mitosis.
So, my friends, I'm telling you about the participants, okay? Everybody got the diagnosis, Paget disease of the vulva, which is everybody except one. Hold it. That, but when asked, why is this Paget and not something else, you can be right for the wrong reasons, okay? And the issue is simply this. And here is where the diagnosis lies. You see you see the ducts?
Yes.
I showed you the ducts with the mottling. So what is the mottling doing in the ducts, my friends? What is it?
Phagocytoid cell showing extension into the duct, ma'am.
So from the ducts, this is a tumor arising in the ducts, which is opening onto the epithelium. And even if you didn't see this, do you understand what Paget disease actually is? Huh? What is Paget disease? It is possible that it arose here and it has gone down into the ducts, one way or the other. But it would not be melanoma, because melanoma will not creep down the ducts or creep up the ducts. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and I showed you the mottling. And it's in several ducts, and therefore it probably is coming from the epidermis into the ducts. Very good. So where does it start in the epidermis? Where does Paget disease, and this is Paget disease, because it will never happen that melanoma will creep down the ducts. Okay, so it is Paget disease. So where is this Paget disease actually starting? And suppose there was nothing in the ducts, and you proved that this was Paget disease and it wasn't a melanoma. Where is Paget disease actually originating? And we know that even in the breast, you can have only nipple Paget and nothing in the underlying breast. It happens all the time in the vulva. So where is it coming from? So Tanya, what's the origin?
The basal layer of the epidermis.
Basal layer, really? Basal layer is squamous or it is glandular? You know that Paget's disease is glandular disease, no? So,
yes, ma'am.
So then the basal layer is suddenly starting to produce glands. Huh? Somebody saying sweat. Somebody saying below the epidermis. Somebody talking about Toka cells. Jesus, do you know what are Toka cells? Huh? So what glandular epithelium do you have in the epidermis? That is the question. Can anybody answer that question? Huh? What glandular epithelium do you have in the epidermis? Yes, you have what? You have the pore, for God's sake.
Pores.
Yes, the pores. The pores are of glandular type. The pores are not squamous. Now, if you understand that, you understand Paget disease altogether. It is a poral disease. Okay, so it can come from the duct below and then get onto the pore and through the pore into the epidermis, or it can start in the pore and move into the epidermis and down into the ducts. So that is what Paget disease is. It is a glandular tumor spreading in the epidermis, and when there is nothing in the subepithelium, there is no invasive carcinoma there, it has come into the epidermis because the pore is the originating cell, the poral cells are there. And you can get poromas, you can get all kinds of other such things. So why can you not get a carcinoma of the pore? And the carcinoma of the pore is Paget disease, which is in the epidermis. You don't call it, if you've got a porocarcinoma which is infiltrating the dermis, that is not Paget disease. But Paget disease is the spread of a glandular epithelium carcinoma within the epidermis. Okay, you've got a porocarcinoma and then it spreads in the epidermis. Yes, that is Pagetoid spread of a porocarcinoma in the epidermis. Are you getting what have you got the concept now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Concept?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Srishti, I
Yes,
hope everybody has got the concept, because I can't make it any clearer. Okay, so everybody here got the right diagnosis, but didn't understand why and how it occurs. Okay, and now if you want to prove it, here is data, which is shown only in those sort of things, and you can see the data down here in these. Maybe it's not a very good data, but look at this. Look at HER2. This most Paget disease is HER2 expressing, and you can see the ducts which are showing these HER2 positive cells. Okay, so today you had some concept of mottling, MOTT. Okay, so now somebody is asking, should we conclude whether it is cancer of the cervix or the ovary? Now I want to know. Can anybody, Vishu, can you answer that question? It came in the chat box. Do you think Paget disease is a cancer of the cervix or the ovary?
No.
Now, what is it a cancer of?
It's in the vulval region.
Vulval region, yes, but a cancer of what?
Poral cell.
Yes, it is a cancer of the poral cell, or it can have been a duct of the apocrine or eccrine glands of the vulva. They have an in situ carcinoma and it creeps up the duct. And so please, Manisha, this does not come from the cervix or from the ovary. Okay, I hope you understand that, Manisha, and you can ask me the question again in the question and answer time if you haven't got that. So this is extramammary Paget disease. So I don't care whether you get the right answer or the wrong answer, as long as you know why you understand this whole thing. All right, now who's left? Isha, are you the last one?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good, Isha. Come on.
Ma'am, 70 years old female with a firm 2 centimeter nodule in a subareolar region of the breast.
Excellent. Very good, Isha. Come on now.
So, ma'am, on scanner view, the section study show normal epithelium with the.
Isha, if you say epithelium again, that is not. It is an epithelium, but you have to call it by its name. What is the so-called normal epithelium, please?
Epidermis.
Epidermis.
Yes. So Isha, you should be able to recognize epidermis. Yes. So it is epidermis. Yes. So it shows normal epidermis.
Normal epidermis.
Yes.
And in dermis area, it is occupying by infiltrating cells, which is in a papilla form. Papillary pattern.
Cells. What do you mean by infiltrating cells? How do you know that they are infiltrating? Unless you see that, how do you know it's infiltrating? I'm sorry, Isha. That's not good enough for me. What are you seeing at this far? You're seeing an abnormality, and you're seeing a nice
papillary pattern.
Is it not circumscribed? It's not circumscribed?
Ma'am, it is circumscribed.
Then you can see that it is well demarcated from the epidermis. Just look at that.
Yes.
It is circumscribed, but it is very circumscribed, but it's not encapsulated. No, that's how we talk about in our descriptions. It is circumscribed, but not encapsulated. Very good. Right. So what do you see about the pattern now?
Yeah. So, ma'am, it is in a papillary pattern.
Papillary pattern. Do you think now that you can see papillae here? No, what I see are spaces. Do I not see irregular spaces? So this is a proliferative lesion, which is, since it is a tumor, it cannot be something that is not a tumor. It is not an inflammation. It is not a vascular lesion. It is not anything. No, it is a tumor. It's neoplastic.
Tumor.
All right. And that neoplasm is made up of several irregular
Regular
spaces.
spaces.
Everybody, I mean, I'm not going to sit and draw every space that I see. Huh? Several
Yes.
spaces into which you have papillary or projections. You can see them over here, and maybe at higher power you'll be able to see them better. It's just spaces and spaces and spaces. Okay. And in
Yes.
between these spaces, you have some stroma.
No.
Yeah, so it is a large number of irregular spaces, yeah, which are closely packed with some very little intervening stroma.
Stroma,
And as
yes.
you can see that there appear to be some papillary processes within the spaces. Yes, I'm describing it for you, Isha. Is that you
Yes,
think that my description is good? So you say infiltrating. How whether it's infiltrating
Yes,
or not? Huh? Anybody has any other objection to this, Vishnu?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Very good. Vishnu is my friend. He agrees. All right. Okay. Same thing here. Yes, Isha. Same thing. No, you're seeing it so many of these irregular, and now
irregular spaces.
right at this power, I can see something more about those irregular spaces. And what is it? That they are branching. Can you see
Yes.
that? They are irregular
Yes, ma'am.
branching spaces. So now one other word I can add to my description. Irregular branching spaces. Yes. So when I talk about a space that is branching, Isha, what do you think those spaces are that branch? And we're dealing with the breast. So
Ma'am, this is ma'am,
what
fibrovascular.
please don't talk about fibrovascular. I'm asking you a simple question, Isha. What spaces branch?
Ma'am, ducts.
Ducts. So now, after we have seen these spaces and we have noticed that they are branching, we made that observation. So we can interpret that observation as ducts. So I have a cellular tumor which is composed of branching duct-like structures into which you have some papillary projections that I can see at this. Does that make sense now?
Yes,
Yes, so I
ma'am.
start by observing spaces. I observe that they are branching. Because these spaces are branching and they seem to be epithelial, this is not something like a branching angiomatous lesion. Okay, it's epithelial. I can make that out. And I've got epithelial spaces that are branching. Then I have no other choice except to interpret them as ducts. So I made these two observations of 3 epithelial spaces branching. And from these 3 observations, I made an interpretation. And that interpretation is that these are ducts. And there is some papillary proliferation, at least I can see, inside the ducts. Now see. Very good. Now come on, Isha. Now we can make out that they are ducts.
Yes.
At low power, I could do it. Now I can see it at high power. Very good. So now describe these. What is happening inside these ducts?
Ma'am, these ducts are lined by the
Good.
cells arranged in the papillae with the fibrovascular core.
They're lined by cells that are papillary. No, I'm sorry, cells cannot be papillary.
Um,
You're describing cells and describe cells and then say in what formation they are.
okay.
The cells are what? They're epithelial.
Ma'am, the epithelial lining.
Very good. They are.
Ma'am, it's lined by the epithelial lining. Which are in the,
They're lined by epithelial cells. Yes.
yeah.
What are those epithelial cells doing? Huh? You're only seeing papillary. Huh? I see many other things. I see a sort of cribriform pattern over here. Yes or no? And then there are some
Yes, sir.
unsupported
Bridges.
proliferations of the epithelium. See, they're unsupported. Some
Yes.
actually have fibrovascular pores, but some of them don't have fibrovascular
No,
pores at all.
of course.
And you have these so-called cribriform. But there is something about this cribriform that is not like the usual cribriform that we see in the breast. And what is it that is different? Oh, here we are. See, unsupported proliferation, yes, of the luminal type cells over here. Yeah, and you're seeing this peculiar cribriform arrangement. But the cribriform is not like the cribriform that we see in normal cribriform structures in the breast, which we call cribriform intraductal carcinoma or cribriform infiltrating cribriform carcinoma. Why? What's the difference, Sanjanya? Sorry, Isha? What's the difference? Because if you haven't seen that, then you have missed a very important clue. Anybody, Vishnu? What's the difference? These are not like cribriform intraductal carcinoma nor cribriform invasive carcinoma. Why? No, Vishnu?
Regularly.
Sorry, yes. Somebody said yes, Ifat.
Some lumen is not regular.
It's not regular. Look at these. This is cribriform. Yes, it is fenestrated. It means that there are spaces over there. But these are very regular. In our cribriform things, we get round, very well demarcated cribriform structures. Very regular. This is an irregular cribriforming. And when I say irregular cribriforming, I am not happy to call it a true cribriform. So yes, there is this unsupported structure. See these little things that are all popping into the lumen. And when you look at it, here you see the papillae, nice cores, etc. Okay. The other thing that you notice is there is really nothing about these nuclei that say that they are likely to be malignant. All nice, uniform, round nuclei. Occasional, maybe mitosis. I can't make out if that's a mitosis or not. But very bland looking nuclei. And yeah, look at that. All these, but these are not true. And you see the branching. So you know that these are branching, extensively branching intraductal. Now, lots of people have seen carcinoma, intraductal carcinomas, etc. I mean, has anybody ever seen an intraductal carcinoma that is branching like this? No, that's one thing about an intraductal carcinoma, it never branches. You just see these nice round structures or oval structures or long structures or whatever, but they don't branch. They just don't branch. Here, look at this. It's beautifully branching. In fact, what is it recapitulating? It is recapitulating what you will normally see in a nipple duct. If you have seen nipple ducts have this kind of branching structure. That's what it's looking like, except that there are papillae inside this nipple duct, in these nipple ducts. Okay, you can see, I mean, there's no doubt about it. There are some papillae and there are these unsupported structures. So this is all which, to get a carcinoma that branches, hey, I find that very, very odd. You see carcinoma after carcinoma, but carcinomas in the breast do not branch, introductory or invasive. So the moment I see this excessive branching, my antennae go up. It looks invasive, but why is it branching? Okay, so that's the flag that goes up. And then of course, yes, you have some of these ducts that are filled up by this proliferation, which is more solid. There are these irregular cribriform kind of structures. Yes. So this is what we normally see. When I say higgledy-piggledy means everywhere, or they're not all oriented in a nice fashion. That's what you see in usual ductal hyperplasia. Okay, so this is not something that we would consider to be, the usual kind of cribriform tumor. And then you see these blue cells towards the lumen. Okay, unsupported blue cells. And two kinds of cells: these blue ones and these pale cells with eosinophilic cytoplasm, pale nuclei and blue nuclei. So there is no uniformity. That is what one has to get into one's head. Now, when you see uniformity, you think cancer. When you don't see uniformity, then it is usual ductal hyperplasia, some other kind of benign proliferation, but it is highly unlikely to be a carcinoma. So this is what these are the little clues that one gets. Yeah, again, showing you again and again. You are following me, Isha?
Yes, ma'am.
And look at this. I mean, this could be just these beautiful branching.
Branching.
They look like nipple ducts. Yeah. Yes, that's the clue. And look at this lack of uniformity. And this is, when I see lack of uniformity, whether it is in the thyroid or, cancer tends to be, and I know we talk about pleomorphism, and if there is pleomorphism, then it is a cancer. That's a different kind of pleomorphism altogether. Okay, that's the kind of pleomorphism in which you get anisocytosis of extreme degrees, which is not seen in this tumor at all. So what was your diagnosis, Isha? Because you started by infiltration, so I know what your diagnosis was. What was it?
Ma'am, I thought papillary carcinoma.
Papillary carcinoma. Very good. I'm glad that you owned up to it. Shrishti, what did you think?
Tall cell.
Tall cell carcinoma of the breast?
Breast.
Oh my goodness, I haven't read the latest WHO. Is there something like a tall cell carcinoma?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Oh, very good. So, Vishnu?
Papillary carcinoma with the DCS component.
With DCI. So you thought it was a carcinoma. Very good. Saujanya?
Ma'am, I thought it's a nipple adenoma.
Excellent, Saujanya. And Ifat?
Nipple adenoma, ma'am.
Nipple adenoma. So now would you like to tell them why you thought it was a nipple adenoma? These are all the significant features. Why?
Ma'am, there's a proliferation of the ductal epithelial cells.
Yes.
And which is
What? So what? So why is it not a carcinoma?
the myoepithelial layer is preserved, ma'am.
Oh my God, how do you? And so it can be intraductal, no? So the myoepithelial layer will be preserved on the outside. How do you know what is myoepithelial inside the proliferation? Saujanya? Huh?
Surrounding the proliferation.
Oh, so then why don't you agree that it is an intraductal papillary carcinoma? You can't get an intraductal papillary carcinoma. You will get a myoepithelial layer on the outside, Saujanya. None of what you're telling me makes sense as to why you call it a nipple adenoma. So you better come up with some better explanation other than I matched pictures in the book. Yes, Ifat, you also said the same.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
The tumor was very demarcated, and the underlying structure shows branching of tubules and duct and displaying non-uniformity of the cell. Epithelial and myoepithelial cell both are appreciable.
So you could see the myoepithelial cells inside.
Actually, two population of cells are seen, ma'am.
How do you know that those are myoepithelial cells?
No, ma'am, it cannot be.
Then, so everybody knows this.
Fluorid usual ductal.
If you are true to yourself and you're not just saying repeating what I said, then full marks to you. No full marks to Saujanya because you have reached the right diagnosis for the wrong reasons, which was exactly what you guys did in the previous case. Okay, so you're right. And there are only two possibilities: intraductal carcinoma, papillary type, or a papillomatosis. Nothing else. Okay, so which is it? Well, there is only one of these two possibilities is possible, and that is nipple adenoma, which is also called florid papillomatosis of the nipple. That's it. Or subareolar duct papillomatosis. Sometimes it's called a papillary adenoma, sometimes erosive adenomatosis because it erodes the overlying nipple skin. And the reasons are I gave you. All right. Then the ducts are branching. They're actually trying to recapitulate normal nipple ducts. Okay. There is this usual ductal hyperplasia like thing, and the cribriform is not a true cribriform change that is seen in these things. And as for the myoepithelial and epithelial cells, I cannot tell what is a myoepithelial cell from an epithelial cell on histology. So if you guys are so can see epithelial and myoepithelial cells, then you are better pathologists than I am. Okay, because I cannot see epithelial and myoepithelial cells when they are all proliferating. Yes, if you give me a two-duct structure, I will be able to tell what is myoepithelial and what is epithelial. All right, and the features that suggest that it is not a carcinoma are first and foremost situation. Okay, we must be cautious in pronouncing florid nipple duct proliferation as a cancer. So I see a florid nipple duct proliferation and all of the things I told you, those branching ducts, those unsupported things. Okay, absence of a true cribriform pattern. This is a true cribriform pattern. Clean cuts, regular margins to these sieve-like structures. That is what is a true cribriform thing. On the other side, look at this irregularity. Okay, it is not a true cribriform pattern, and the absence of cytological. Everything looks bland. Okay, but what you see in the cribriform is all of the cells look exactly like every other cell, which we did not see in our nipple adenoma. Now, everybody talks about this dual population of epithelial and myoepithelial cells. But I'm sorry, I cannot see the dual population of epithelial and myoepithelial cells. Okay, so last of all is what I've written. People say it, people talk about it, but I'm sorry, I can't tell the dual population of epithelial and myoepithelial cells. You can do some stains, all right? And somebody like what Saujanya said, there's a myoepithelial layer outside. Yes, there is a myoepithelial layer. This is SMA. But how do you know what's proliferating inside is not a carcinoma? Saujanya, so don't say that the ducts are lying on the outside. biomyoepithelial layer. So this is EMA. Now everybody would say P63. P63 is useful, yes, but even if you don't have P63, right? EMA is a good stain. What does EMA tell you? See, the basal, this layer at the periphery, and you can see that, yeah, is not stained with EMA, which tells you that because EMA doesn't stain myoepithelial cells. And now you can make out that some of the cells inside these are also not stained with EMA, and therefore they're probably myoepithelial cells. So even if you don't have P53, and in the good old days, this was a very old case, there was no P53, but you can make out that this has got a dual population. On H and E, I cannot make out a dual population, okay? And this is S100 protein. A lot of people think that S100 protein stains myoepithelial cells. Yes, it does, but it also stains epithelial, but that means the luminal type cells. So don't use S100 protein as a marker of myoepithelial cells, except in some specific circumstances, okay? So it's listed about all the markers of myoepithelial cells. So in today's world, we do P63, and we do CK56. We also do calponin, we do CD10. SMA is good. EMA, you be a little careful about how you interpret it, but don't rely on things like S100 protein when you're dealing with breast, okay? S100 protein, somewhat different in the salivary gland. Okay, so what is this? It is a nipple adenoma. I'm glad that some people made the diagnosis, but I understand that often you will make a diagnosis by matching pictures, or because it is the most common thing over there, understand why you made that diagnosis, okay? So this is just some clinical features. No age after puberty is exempt. So, this is a very elderly 80-year-old who has got it. There's nipple erosion, bloody discharge. It can have a lump in the areolar region. It may mimic Paget disease, because Paget disease shows an erosion of the nipple clinically. So people might actually feel that this is Paget disease, but we don't see Paget on histology. And there is no specific radiological appearance, okay? I think this is a nipple adenoma. You can call it florid papillomatosis of the nipple or whatever, but please do not mistake it for a carcinoma. It will result in a mastectomy, and that is an unforgivable mistake. Sometimes we all fall into the trap, but try not to fall into the trap. And I've given you the reasons how you can avoid it. The branching ductal structures, trying to recapitulate what is happening in the normal nipple ducts. You get the dual or sometimes even triple population of cells, bland cytology, and overall there is no infiltration. It's a nice circumscribed lesion. Okay, so try not to make this diagnosis of carcinoma if you're dealing with a nipple tumor, unless it's very frankly a carcinoma of the breast. Okay, yeah, and also the cribriform thing, you have to be careful about what you call cribriform. All right, so I think we have finished. Are there any questions in the chat box, or anybody wants to ask questions? It is just stop sharing. Okay, anybody?
No questions.
No questions. All right, and if any of the participants want to ask questions, if they haven't understood, you can ask me now. You can send me emails, whatever. Okay, somebody in the chat box said, I want to connect with you after the, I don't know who said that, so please, did you see that in the chat box, Vanessa?
No, madam, I'll check.
No, that's okay. If there's so just look and see if there's somebody who wanted to ask a special question or something of that sort. Then, yeah. All right. None of the diagnoses, perhaps the nipple adenoma was difficult, but the other diagnoses were straightforward. The question is not, I mean, my approach to this is not whether you reach the right diagnosis or not. It is, do you get the concept, and are you making the diagnosis for the right reasons? Okay. All right, folks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Not at all. If there are no further questions,
Thank you,
all the 5 students, they just disappeared somewhere in between. But thank you, Shrishti and Isha and Vishnu and Saujanya and Ifat. I hope it was a rewarding experience.